left, if I'm really lucky, of being able to work with music and work with art. And with this swerve that I'm taking, what I'm actually doing is I'm telling myself that nothing is off the map. Nothing. I may actually do some dancing when I get my other knee done.
Thank you for listening to the interview from the BBC World Service. If you enjoyed today's programme, you can listen to the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, and you can hear more in-depth conversations with leading artists and creative people with me, John Wilson, on the BBC's This Cultural Life. Until next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was the interview. I'm Saroja Coelho. CBC News is next.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa. Good to be with you. Let's say hello to the wonderful crew also behind the glass. Abby Adeyemi is our studio technician. Good morning to you, Abby. Welcome back from your Western Canada road trip. Also, Sierra Sanders is our studio director today. She'll be keeping an eye on the commute. And Brad Lillies is our YouTube producer today as well. Let's also say hello to Heather Wells, who is in with a look at your news headlines.
Good morning. Well, Guido Amsel has been denied full parole. The Manitoba man was convicted of attempted murder for sending letter bombs to his ex-wife and two lawyers. A parole board hearing for Amsel was held earlier this month. It found he shows no remorse for his actions back in July of 2015. It is by-election day in Spruce Woods. People in the Western Manitoba municipality are going to vote in their next MLA. Voting begins at 8 o'clock this morning, and polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
You're welcome. That would be 6:30.
Oh, right. That's right. Okay.
Sorry. I'm way ahead of myself.
Exact time change isn't for another couple months. So.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Heather. That's Heather
You're
Wells
welcome.
at our CBC News desk. Let's take a quick look at your weather here. It's actually going to be a lovely day out there. I know the rain kind of caught me off guard in the afternoon a little bit. I know I had said earlier yesterday that it was going to be clear, but then that rain came along. But today, at least according to Environment Canada, it should be a much clearer and warmer day today. We are sitting at 13 today at the Forks, heading for a high. Or no, we're sitting at 10 right now at the Forks, heading for a high today of 28. You can expect it to be mainly sunny here in Winnipeg. Then overnight, there is about a 40% chance of showers tonight, and it's going to dip down to 13 overnight. And then sunny and clear is the forecast for pretty much the next 4 or 5 days. So should be some lovely weather to get out and about, especially heading into a long weekend not far away from here. Stay tuned. We are going to hear from a National Geographic photographer who's familiar with a terrain where a 29-year-old trekker from Norway was found dead. That's coming up after World Report.
Today on Q.
I'm Jill Deacon in for Tom Power. Canadian musician Icky is bringing Punjabi music to the world while shining a spotlight on Canada. He'll talk about his collaboration with One Republic and tell you why Canadians should be embracing Punjabi music.
Q. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A lucrative Canadian defense contract is getting a lot of attention today in Germany.
We're in the process of renewing our submarine fleet, one of our most important defense initiatives.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says there are now just 2 companies in the running to build Canada's new submarines. After he met with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz this morning, he announced one of those contenders is a German-Norwegian partnership. The CBC's Murray Brewster has more details.
As he delivered the hard sell pitch last spring for Canada to buy his submarines, Oliver Burkhardt, the CEO of Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, kept repeating the same phrase.
I think we're offering a real partnership, maybe to Navy, industry to industry, government to government.
We will perhaps soon get a better sense of whether that approach is music to the ears of Prime Minister Mark Carney and key members of his cabinet. It has been announced that Canada has narrowed the list of contenders to build the Navy's new submarines to 2 bidders, TKMS and South Korea's Hanwha Ocean. The Prime Minister met with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and is slated to participate in a business roundtable with the goal of diversifying Canada's trade and coming up with a critical minerals partnership. However, as with many elements of his European trip this week, defense and security issues are near the top of Carney's agenda. The Prime Minister will tour the TKMS shipyard. Federal officials speaking on background said the debate within government now is whether to go the route of requesting proposals or straight into contract negotiations with the preferred bidder. In the high-stakes multi-billion-dollar gambit to replace Canada's aging and largely inoperable Victoria-class submarines, the German-designed, Norwegian-partnered Type 212CD is perhaps the most well-known and heavily marketed of the contenders. Cabinet is not expected to decide until next year at the earliest which way to proceed. Marie Brewster, CBC News, Berlin.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is going back to Washington, D.C. LeBlanc is expected to sit down today with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Late last week, Ottawa announced it will lift some retaliatory tariffs. LeBlanc has said the goal of his conversation with Lutnick is to negotiate a bilateral agreement. He says he hopes that will soften the impact of separate tariffs imposed on steel, aluminum, copper, lumber, and autos. U.S. President Donald Trump wants to remove one of the governors of the Federal Reserve. Trump posting a letter on social media saying he plans to fire Lisa Cook from the central bank's board of governors. He says he believes that she made false statements on mortgage agreements. Cook is denying the allegations and says she will not resign. The CBC's Lisa Sheng joins me now from Washington. And Lisa, what can you tell us?
Marcia, this all has to do with Trump demanding the Federal Reserve lower interest rates, and for months blaming its chair, Jerome Powell, for taking too long to do that and threatening to fire him and to fire Lisa Cook herself, who's the first Black woman to serve on the Fed's board. Now, this is the latest escalation in that conflict. Trump posted a letter addressed to Cook on social media late Monday, alleging she may have falsified records to get favorable terms on a mortgage, saying it's deceitful and potentially criminal. This is something that Trump and his allies have been alleging for weeks. In that letter, he wrote he's immediately firing her. So this is Trump in Washington last week.
I'll fire her if she doesn't resign. Yeah, what she did was bad. So I'll fire her if she doesn't resign.
So technically, the central bank's founding statute allows him to fire governors for cause, typically for misconduct or wrongdoing. So Cook and her lawyer are fighting the dismissal, saying Trump has no grounds to do this. She hasn't been charged with anything or convicted.
What if Cook is fired?
So the central bank is responsible for monitoring inflation, watching the labor market, and it's designed to be independent from political influence. So if Cook goes, the Fed could actually have a majority of Trump-appointed members, meaning we could see decisions swayed by what the president wants, and economists have warned that's risky. All of this is unprecedented. It could potentially shape up to be a long legal battle, and investors seem concerned based on overnight drops in stock futures.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Lisa Sheng in Washington. Families and supporters of hostages being held by Hamas are demanding Israel's government make a deal now. They're demonstrating across Israel today in what is being called a day of struggle. They want the war in Gaza to end and the remaining hostages released. Our senior international correspondent, Margaret Evans, has more from Jerusalem.
Demonstrators pounding drums and holding pictures of the hostages aloft blocked roads and highways in and out of Israeli cities, disrupting the morning commute. Dalia Kuzner's brother-in-law, Itan, is one of 20 hostages still thought to be alive.
We're trying to make the Prime Minister sign this deal, even though we don't think it's the best hostage deal because it's only a partial one.
Hamas accepted a deal put forward by mediators last week based on a temporary ceasefire and an initial release of half the hostages. Despite having previously agreed to staged releases, Benjamin Netanyahu now insists all hostages be released at once. Israeli journalist Anshel Pfeffer says his refusal comes even though most Israelis favor such a deal.
He is looking to the people who can keep him in power, and those are not the people on the street. Those are those far-right parties in his coalition who make no secret of the fact that they want to hold on to Gaza in perpetuity.
International pressure is building on Netanyahu after the UN's hunger watchdog confirmed famine in Gaza City last week, saying 500,000 Palestinians are facing starvation and death, and predicting those numbers are likely to grow. There has also been widespread outrage over the deaths of 5 more Palestinian journalists in an Israeli strike on a hospital in Gaza yesterday. Netanyahu called it a tragic mishap. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Australia's Prime Minister is accusing Iran of organizing 2 anti-Semitic attacks on Australian soil. In response, Anthony Albanese says his country is cutting diplomatic ties with Tehran.
This is the most serious response that any Australian government has given. We don't expel an ambassador lightly, but we do think that it is an appropriate response given the extraordinary behaviour.
Australia has recorded significantly more anti-Semitic incidents since the Israel-Hamas war began in 2023. Authorities have said they suspect foreign actors paid local criminals to carry out the attacks, but Albanese says an intelligence group now has evidence the Iranian government directed arson attacks on a kosher food company in Sydney and on a synagogue in Melbourne last year. The wildfire in Nova Scotia's Annapolis County has more than doubled in size in the last 2 days. It has forced about 1,000 people from their homes. New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Labrador have offered help, but as the CBC's Nicholas Sagan reports, crews in those provinces are also still battling out-of-control fires.
I'm going to try to find a place to stay. I'm living in my truck right now.
Tim Donald was evacuated from his home Sunday night as the fast-moving Long Lake wildfire pushed hundreds more people to flee. As officials confirm a number of homes have been destroyed, Donald's could be one of them.
I'd hate to lose all our belongings, our house, our garage, our barn, all our equipment, stuff we've worked so hard to have.
Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston says hot and dry conditions have fanned the flames. The wildfire more than doubling in size Monday to close to 78 square kilometers.
It's an awful feeling, an out-of-control fire.
Houston saying more evacuations are possible, speaking directly to homeowners.
You're going through something that is completely unimaginable, most people's worst nightmare.
Across the region, some fires are still burning out of control, but things are looking up. New Brunswick is fighting 18 wildfires, down from 39 in weeks past. In Newfoundland, the Kingston fire that destroyed more than 200 homes is still not under control, but it hasn't grown, allowing some residents like Eugene Howell to return home.
I think a lot of people are traumatized when they go back to their homes.
Though conditions are turning in some parts of Atlantic Canada, bringing hope after weeks of anguish, Nova Scotia is still battling the worst of it. And though some rain is falling, officials warn it won't bring much relief. Nicholas Sagan, CBC News, Halifax.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. It is Tuesday, August 26th, and this coming hour on the show, the Prime Minister has had a busy few days with announcements at home and abroad. And coming up at 6:50, we're going to go to Ottawa to check in with a reporter about those announcements and the many things that are going on during his visit to Europe. Also, with the announcement Friday that Canada is lifting its counter tariffs on many U.S. goods, some small businesses are breathing a sigh of relief. We're going to get reaction from the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses about how those tariffs being lifted impacts them. But first on the show, we're going to hear from a National Geographic photographer familiar with the terrain where a 29-year-old trekker from Norway was found dead in Manitoba's north. 6:11 right now. Let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Well, work is underway to rebuild homes in a Manitoba subdivision destroyed by wildfire. 2 people were killed, 28 homes destroyed this past May in the RM of Lac de Bonnet. Some property owners have now started putting down new foundations. We're going to hear from one woman who lost her permanent home but is not sure if they will rebuild. Steinbach City Council has rejected a request for a plebiscite on allowing cannabis stores. Council turned down the request from Jesse Lavoie at Toba Grown, a Winnipeg-based cannabis supplier. Deputy Mayor Michael Zwagstra says the matter was already decided in a plebiscite in 2018.
We don't just simply rush to have a plebiscite just because someone who lives in Winnipeg asks us to hold one.
Lavoie says he is now organizing a petition to force a Steinbach-wide vote. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
You're welcome.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Let's take a quick look at your weather here in Winnipeg. At the Forks right now, it is 10, but we are warming up today to 28 is the forecast high. You can expect it to be mainly sunny, but it will be dipping down to 13 overnight with a chance of showers. And you know what I forgot is that Abby Adiemi is in. I was used to doing weather yesterday, and I was just stepping on your weather
I was like,
here, Abby.
Corey, I can just relax. I still need to be in the holiday mode.
Yeah.
Last night, for stargazers, I'm sure you enjoy the clear skies we enjoyed overnight, and we still saw more of that clear condition take us into the morning with just some light breeze coming from the west. As you head out today, actually, though, just get ready for like a bright and a sunny start to your day. There will be gentle breeze, just making it feel quite, comfortable as you're waiting for your bus, or just making the transition as you wait for your coffee. Also, right now, Winnipeg, 10 degrees, clear outside through the morning. We're going to enjoy lots of sunshine today, and we'll see temperatures climb nicely to between 23 and 28 degrees across the Red River and Pembina Valley regions, depending on where you are. But currently, morning temperatures in the south, we're seeing 8 to 16 degrees, clear across board, and up north, we're seeing 10 to 14 degrees from the Par all the way down to Churchill. Cooler in Churchill, 10 degrees. Province-wide, we're going to see sunny skies, and then some clouds will come in the afternoon period. We'll see temperatures not as cool as yesterday. We warm up to about 28, 29 degrees, and then the humidity makes it feel close to 30 degrees in some areas. But right now, Winnipeg, we are at 10 degrees.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you,
Sorry
Corey.
for stepping on your toes. Your weather is, you have a much better weather aptitude than I do, so thank you very much for that. Also in studio with us right now is Sierra Sanders, who's got a look at your commute, and I'll let you do it. I won't do the commute.
Are you sure?
I'll let
You are a jack of all trades. You can do. You're like a Swiss Army knife
You know what,
in the studio.
I'm very happy to share the limelight when it comes to the commute. Go for it.
That's very nice. Well, so far the commute out there is looking pretty smooth as we kick off the morning and the show. Things are moving along well out there. But if that is not the case, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. The number is 204-788-3093.
Well, as you've been hearing in the news, a Norwegian trekker missing in Manitoba's north was found dead near York Factory yesterday. And although cause of death has not been confirmed, police believe the man was swept away while attempting to cross the Hayes River. The search for the 29-year-old Stefan Schotelvik lasted just over a week and was described by RSMP as one of the most difficult search rescue missions ever conducted in the province. Here's Sergeant Paul Manag.
I think people are going to have a hard time imagining or putting into perspective how difficult this search was. I've been a police officer for nearly 30 years, involved with search and rescue for the last 8. In my experience, this has probably been one of the hardest searches that's taken place in this province due to its location and the associated environment.
Jad Davenport is a National Geographic photographer and a director of wolf programs for the eco-tour company Churchill Wild. And he spent a considerable amount of time in and around York Factory and joined CBC's Faith Vandal yesterday on Up to Speed.
You heard the sergeant there describe it as undescribable or something that people might have a hard time envisioning. What did you think? You've been in this area before.
Right. Well, to paint a picture, Faith, you're looking at a wild coastline where three ecosystems collide. You have the boreal forest, so a tangle of black spruce trees. You've got muskeg that would swallow you up if you got off the trail. And then you have the Arctic tundra right along the coast. And then, of course, you have the maritime environment right there in the Hudson Bay itself, which is an intertidal area. So, vicious currents, vicious tides, river crossings, very remote. And it's very challenging for outsiders to conduct a search like this. But for the First Nations that led the search, they did a remarkable job. They know that area. They know how to get around up there.
Were you surprised when you heard about this outcome?
I was saddened to hear the outcome. Stefan, it sounded like he was a very well-prepared young man. He had the support of the First Nations communities. He had been training for over a year to do this, and he knew he was an outdoorsman. He'd been up there in the winter mushing. This environment is incredibly harsh, right? It can be 35 degrees Celsius in the summer, and you can be minus 40 Celsius in the winter, but he had been up there during all seasons. So I was saddened, and we all are up there. We all make mistakes or take risks. I don't know exactly what happened to him, but those of us that are still around were the lucky ones. He just probably had some really bad luck.
Yeah, and it's unclear yet what led to all of this. Something that I know you know, though, is the area. You took a trip in this area. Are there stories that come to mind for you about that illustrate how challenging the environment is?
Sure, Faith. This area, I've been studying wolves up there and polar bears for the last 11 years. I was up there in July at one of the First Nations hunting camps, very close to where his body was recovered. And it's just the remoteness. You're looking at an area the size of the U.S. state of California that has no settlements at all. The only people up there at any time of the year are the First Nations when they're hunting in their camp, and then guests at the Nanook Polar Bear Lodge with Churchill Wild. Other than that, it's just vast wilderness. And so people, there just aren't people up there. I remember the lodge managers and the CEO of Churchill Wild saying this is the first time they'd ever had anyone walk up to the front door of Nanook Polar Bear Lodge. It just doesn't happen.
Does it make sense to you about, just from your experience in life, why someone might want to go up there and why someone might want to try to take this challenge on?
Absolutely, Faith. I think you look at a young person like Stefan, and this is a young man who was out living life. He wasn't obsessed with what maybe modern society looks at as measures of success of money and career. He was out there clearly to appreciate and explore the world and the people, learn from the First Nations, the Swampy Cree that have been up there for 10,000 years, experience the wildlife, the polar bears, the wolves. And so I think, Stefan, I did not know him. I'm sorry about that, but he certainly harks back to the great explorers of the Arctic who took risks and went out there and were equipped, but knew at the end of the day, you can be as well prepared as you want, you can be as experienced as you want, and then sometimes we just have bad luck.
Chad, what's one thing that you think people who may not appreciate why anyone would go up there, or may not appreciate how dangerous things can be? What's one thing you hope people think about now?
I hope when they think about Stefan and his journey that they take a moment and understand that he was out. I'm sure he loved this wilderness and the people there and the wildlife, and to be out on his own with just his dogs under the sky. You'll get people that say, oh, you should never go alone. But the truth of the matter is it's the Arctic. You have to do things sometimes that you're taking calculated risks. And I think he did that. And I like to think that, he was out there with these incredible animals, the polar bears, the wolves, the caribou, And the things he was seeing and was hopefully sharing with the rest of us that couldn't be there, it's pretty remarkable.
That's Jad Davenport, a National Geographic photographer and director of wolf programs for the eco-tour company Churchill Wild. He was speaking yesterday with CBC's Faith Lundell.
On This is Manitoba, we celebrate who we are, and we lean into the challenges here that can make this place even better. I'm Marcy Marcusa, host of This is Manitoba. On the podcast, we tackle one topic in a new episode every Friday. It's always about us, the news, and the people here. Get into some local listening. Find and follow This is Manitoba wherever you get your podcasts.
6:21 right now. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa. Well, a bit of positive news on Friday for many Canadian businesses importing products from the United States. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced an end to retaliatory tariffs on most goods covered under CUSMA, that is the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. And although notably not steel, aluminum, or automotive products, the September 1st change could provide some relief. And joining us now is Corrine Pullman, Executive Vice President of Advocacy for the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So just tell us, how significant of a move was Friday's announcement to small businesses here in Canada?
It was an important move for many of them. We know that about 50% of Canadian small businesses import from the United States, and about 58% of them were telling us that these counter tariffs were actually having a direct or indirect impact on their business. And so for many, it was a bit of a good reprieve, because we had just found in some research that about 20% of small businesses were telling us that they couldn't really absorb these costs for more than 6 more months before having to make some pretty difficult decisions in their business.
So then is this now a big enough change that those 1 in 5 will be able to survive past that 6 months now?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because some of those 1 in 5 may be affected by steel tariffs or aluminum tariffs, which are also a very significant impact on many small companies. Hopefully, though, for many, it will have enough of an impact to sort of give them a bit of a reprieve and hopefully help them be able to transition to whatever it is they need to do to be surviving in the longer term.
Now, not everyone, of course, is happy about these retaliatory tariffs being lifted. The Prime Minister has faced some criticism for taking the pressure off the United States in these trade negotiations. So what's your perspective on this from representing small businesses?
Yeah, so for the most part, small businesses are just like every other Canadian. Back in February, when this was first started, and some of the rhetoric coming out of Washington were flying all over the place, they were angry, just like most other Canadians were angry. And so they supported those retaliatory tariffs. In fact, 75% thought it was a good idea, even if they had to pay those tariffs. But we've found over the course of the last 6 months that support has started to wane, and to the point where just last week it was around a 50-50 mark. So we still have many small businesses that believe the retaliatory tariffs make sense, like many Canadians. But more and more small businesses are sort of going, wait a minute, this is kind of hurting now. It's pinching. I'm not really sure if I can do this in the long term. And, started to feel that maybe there was an alternative way to sort of fight back on this than using retaliatory tariffs.
So then what are the key issues, going forward now that still need to be resolved, do you think?
Well, of course, we still have those steel and aluminum tariffs. We still have auto tariffs and copper tariffs and tariffs on lumber. So there's a lot of work still to do. And of course, the Canada-US-Mexico agreement will likely come up for some sort of negotiation, and determining whether that's going to change dramatically or not is going to be key. So instability continues, and that can be a killer for small businesses as well. And so making sure we can get to a point where we have some stability on what to expect, what has to be paid, and what doesn't have to be paid, and ultimately, hopefully, we reduce those tariffs as much as possible.
I also know there's also still this problem of the de minimis exemption, which is tariff for goods under it's an exemption for goods under $800 that the U.S. is planning to do away with actually this Friday. So can you just explain a little bit more of the impact that has on small businesses?
Absolutely. I mean, the de minimis of $800 has been around for a long time. So many businesses, large and small, have used it for what they call low-value shipments. So anything worth under $800 going into the United States would not incur any kind of duty or tax on it. So it was a mechanism to sort of simplify the process for these sort of low-cost items into the United States. But as you said, this Friday, that is to be lifted. And about 25% of small companies in Canada do use the de minimis to export into the United States, often directly to consumers themselves for the goods that they're selling. And so removing that is going to have a huge impact on many small companies that have sort of relied on it as a way to get their goods and be competitive in the United States. So that's going to have an impact for sure. The only sort of, I guess, shining light coming out of that is that it will be treated the same way as goods right now are treated. So if those products are Canada, U.S., Mexico compliant, agreement compliant, then they would not have any duties on them. But now you have to deal with the paperwork to sort of prove that's the case. And so it is going to have an impact fairly widely on small companies.
Your organization is actually calling for more support from the federal government. So what do you hope that support looks like?
Yeah, so you have to remember those Canadian counter tariffs are coming from Canadian companies, and that's going into the government coffers. So we believe strongly that that money needs to be returned to the businesses that paid into it to help them through. This is a really challenging time. And so far, the supports that have been announced have been very targeted at the lumber industry, the auto sector, and very little has been sort of focused on small businesses. And so we need to see some kind of mechanism that gives some of that money back, whether it be through a rebate program, much like the carbon tax rebates that were given back to small businesses last December, or maybe it's a tax cut of some kind, even if it's only temporary, so that they can keep some of that liquidity in their business and help them sort of transition to potentially a new way of doing business, a new market, or whatever the case might be, so they can be more viable in the long term.
Well, Corinne, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Corinne Pullman is Executive Vice President of Advocacy for the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses. Well, 6:27 right now. We've got time for a bit of music before your news. Khayyam is an R&B artist from Calgary, and in just a few days, he'll be playing his first show outside of Canada in London on August 30th. Here's Khayyam with his song, Therapy.
I'm on my way to your crib. I'm craving your skin to skin. Tell your friends you're staying. Let's keep our session right here. Can't get enough of you. Without you I fall apart. Keep coming back to you. Switching positions, yeah, you got me healing. You'll be my therapy. Asking me how does it feel, laying in bed with me. Only your body makes me feel alive. You'll be my therapy. Bad girl, but you're good for me. Dress on, I can see through. Open like a book for me, but you're the one who's reading me too. Fatu with your brown skin, señorita que la sigo. Te quiero mucho, baby, you know the procedure. Can't get enough of you. Without you, I fall apart. Keep coming back to you. Switching positions, yeah, you got me healing. You'll be my therapy. Asking me how does it feel, laying in bed with me. Only your body makes me feel alive. You'll be my therapy.
That's Khayyam with his song Therapy. Stay tuned here to Information Radio. Just ahead, we've got your business news. The U.S. markets fell yesterday. It was because Donald Trump says he has fired a big central banker. We're going to get an explanation on that. But first, your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's 11 degrees. This could be the day we finally warm up. Mix of sun and clouds today, a high of 28, increasing clouds this afternoon, and a chance of showers this evening. Work is underway to rebuild homes in a Manitoba subdivision destroyed by wildfire. 2 people were killed and 28 homes destroyed this past May in the RM of Lac de Bonnie. Some property owners have started putting down new foundations. Erin Banville and her husband lost their permanent home. They are not sure if they'll rebuild, but Banville's happy to see neighbors coming back.
It's actually great to see that, and that's the life of it becoming what it once was, or something even better. It is good. I wish we were there.
Many people in the area have spent the past 3 months cleaning up the charred debris. Volunteers from an Ontario-based group called Christian Aid Ministries have also been pitching in to help. The family of a teen who drowned at a City of Winnipeg pool last year is suing the city and 4 lifeguards. The parents of Adam Sereda Paul filed a statement of claim with the Manitoba Court of King's Bench last Thursday. The 14-year-old was found unconscious in the deep end of the pool at the Cindy Clausen Rec Complex, April 1st, 2024. He was pronounced dead in hospital. In their statement of claim, the parents say the city owed Adam a statutory duty of care. They allege the lifeguards were, quote, inexperienced and immature and failed to supervise or guard Adam. The parents are seeking $110,000 from each of the 5 defendants, as well as other damages. None of the allegations have been tested in court. A city spokesperson declined comment. It is by-election day in Spruce Woods. People in that Western Manitoba municipality will vote for their next MLA starting at 8 this morning. The area has long voted in Progressive Conservatives, but the other parties are putting in a fight. CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
No party other than the Progressive Conservatives has won Spruce Woods since it was created in 2011. And today the Tories aim to keep it that way, while the NDP and Liberals have other plans. Spruce Woods is a mostly rural riding in Westman that includes the north part of Brandon. A by-election was triggered after Tory MLA Grant Jackson resigned this year to run federally. He's now the MP for Brandon-Souris. 3 candidates are vying to replace Jackson in Manitoba's legislature. The PCs have party official Colleen Robbins on the ballot, while the NDP selected former real estate agent Ray Berthollet, and the Liberals have teacher Stephen Reed. The governing NDP made a flurry of spending announcements in southwestern Manitoba leading up to the by-election. The PCs accused the government of trying to buy votes, which the NDP denied. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Steinbach City Council has rejected a request for a plebiscite on allowing cannabis stores. Council turned down the request last week from Jesse Lavoie of Toba Grown, a Winnipeg-based cannabis supplier. Deputy Mayor Michael Zwagstra says this matter was already decided in a plebiscite in 2018. A majority of eligible residents voted against it.
The issue has already been settled. We have a lot of other things that we're doing in Steinbach, a lot of growth that is happening, and a lot of other more important issues. And we don't just simply rush to have a plebiscite just because someone who lives in Winnipeg asks us to hold one.
Lavoie says he is now organizing a petition to force a Steinbach-wide vote. That petition would need to be signed by 20% of registered Steinbach voters in order to force that vote. Guido Amsel has been denied full parole. The Manitoba man was convicted of attempted murder for sending letter bombs to his ex-wife and 2 lawyers. A parole board hearing for Amsel was held earlier this month. It found he shows no remorse for his actions and continues to believe he was set up by police and his ex-wife. His trial heard Amsel became so enraged over perceived mistreatment at the hands of his former wife and lawyers, he sent explosive devices to their workplaces through Canada Post in the summer of 2015. Now to Israel. Hostage families are holding a day of disruption, blocking a major highway north of Tel Aviv, calling for an end to the war in Gaza and for all hostages to be released. Ruby Chen is the father of Itai, an Israeli soldier killed October 7, 2023, whose body is still being held in Gaza.
There's a good deal on the table. It's something we could work with. It's something we could get a deal done to bring all the hostages back.
Palestinian militants are holding 50 remaining hostages, 20 are thought to still be alive. And on his visit to Germany today, Prime Minister Mark Carney has signed a Canadian-German critical minerals partnership. Carney says Canada has undeveloped or underdeveloped its deposits of nickel and cobalt, among other minerals, allowing other countries to dominate the global market. And he says Germany's a trailblazer in Europe when it comes to diversifying its markets and moving away from reliance on China and Russia. You can hear more on that story, as well as other national and international news, coming up on World Report at 7. You can always find more Manitoba news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. Also with us behind the glass is Abby Adeyemi, who's keeping an eye on your regional forecast. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. Yeah, I know it's been a kind of a cold with the rain we've been getting this past few days. It's been kind of cool, not that kind of condition a lot of people would say I can sit outside. It's more like that false fall.
Yes.
So I think we're in between the false fall at this time.
You can smell the leaves starting to rot a little bit too, so we're almost in the actual fall.
This past weekend I was out taking photos and I noticed I was thinking it's the camera playing tricks on me, and I saw the colors on the leaves already transforming from that deep green I was enjoying to like the orange fading in, and I'm like, okay, reality is about to check in on us.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for today, we should see some conditions that will be warmer than yesterday, expecting sunshine and warmth that will stretch from the southern part of the province. We're going to see some extra clouds in the central regions, while far north, we will see cool conditions. Winnipeg right now, 9 degrees, mainly clear outside, light winds coming from the southwest. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds today, but as we start this morning, if you look up, you would notice the sun is about to make its appearance. It's going to get sunnier. We'll see temperatures warm close to 28 degrees, depending on where you are in the Red River Valley region for today. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region. Temperatures also hovering between 9 and 14 in some areas. We'll see temperatures also get close to 29 degrees in that region. For the Westman region, Brandon, Nipawin, all the way down to Minnedosa, we're seeing temperatures around 7 degrees at this time. Clear outside, mild winds coming from the west. We'll see sunshine turning to a mix of sun and clouds by the afternoon. Highs would be around 28, but the humidity would feel close to 30-31. In the Parkland region, Dauphin, Russell, Roblin, surrounding region, we're seeing 10 degrees at this time. Also clearing that region. Gentle winds coming from the west for that part of the province. Expect a sunny morning followed by some clouds rolling in by the afternoon period. We do have a chance of showers in that part of the province. Highs would get to 27 degrees. Now, for our friends in the Interlake region, Gimli and surrounding areas, we're seeing 12 degrees in some areas. We're seeing 9 to 10 degrees in some of the region in that, some communities in that area. Light southeast winds also are being felt at this time. Expect a mix of sun and clouds this morning, becoming sunnier as you get into the morning. Then in the afternoon period, you see some clouds build. Temperatures get to 28 degrees. Traveling to the northern part of the province, the powerful influence Thompson Churchill. In the powerful influence surrounding areas right now, we're seeing 13, 14 degrees, mostly clear there. Also, very light northeast winds. The day will be sunny, shifting to a mix of sun and clouds with a chance of showers this afternoon and a risk of thunderstorms late. Highs will climb to about 26 degrees for that part of the province. For Thompson, Nelson House, Split Lake, we're seeing temperatures hover around 11, 12 degrees at this time. We're also spotting shallow fog in that area, so if you're driving, take that into consideration. Some light winds coming from the west. Expect sunshine this morning, then a transition to a mix of sun and clouds with a good chance of showers in the afternoon. That might come with a risk of thunderstorms. Also, temperatures will warm to 23 degrees. And for Churchill and the York region, we're looking at 10, 11 degrees at this time. Mostly cloudy. Some winds really coming from the northeast. Showers likely this morning. That would ease by the afternoon period, and we'll see the temperature just stay around 10 degrees for most of the day for the Churchill region. So across board, Corey, we're looking at a warm and humid day in the southern part of the province into the central, while the northern regions will stay cooler. So that sunshine we're getting down south will kind of warm things up. So yeah, it's going to be like a beautiful warm day province-wide. Winnipeg right now, we are hovering between 10 and 9 degrees, and I call it a comfortable start for the day.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That's Abby Adeyemi, keeping an eye on the weather. Just one thing to keep an eye on for in your commute, though. It started yesterday, but all eastbound lanes on Redwood between Salter and Charles are actually closed for street construction. That's actually going to last until September 10th. And then eventually, that's actually, we don't know exactly when, but sometime between now and the 10th, it's going to switch to all westbound lanes. But right now, though, it's all the eastbound lanes on Redwood between Salter and Charles are closed for construction. If you see anything else out there, though, you can give us a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093. Well, Phil DeMont is here now with your business report. Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Corey.
So U.S. markets fell yesterday, and it was because Donald Trump says he has fired a big central banker. So what's going on there?
Yeah, the Dow Jones wasn't really doing much of anything in the morning, and you kind of didn't think it was going to be a quiet day. Then all of a sudden word came out that Trump had fired a governor of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Lisa Cook. Dow ended up dropping like a stone, ended the day down 350 points. We've seen those moves before, but it's the reason why they dropped. That's the problem. Lisa Cook's under investigation by federal officials for possible mortgage fraud, but the person making the charge is a prominent Trump ally within the government. So the implication, at least to investors, is that the firing is another attempt by the president to get his supporters on the board of the U.S. Central Bank. Trump's long been critical of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and his unwillingness to cut interest rates. But Corey, the firing of Cook raises the fight to a whole new level. For one thing, it's not clear the president actually has the power to fire a Fed governor. Cook doesn't think so. I suspect she's got a legal opinion. So she says she's not leaving. That could lead to a prolonged court battle, and that'll be bad for markets. Markets also, and the economy generally is nervous about any politician exerting influence over a supposedly independent central bank. And the reason is kind of simple. Elected officials always want to cut interest rates. None of them want to increase it because you're basically saying to people, yeah, roll your mortgage over and pay more because of me. But the problem with keeping to cut interest rates is it can lead to runaway inflation. Seeing that in Turkey, seeing that in other countries, it's fairly evident you need to raise interest rates at some point. What's odder, though, there's a 12-member board for that make the decision on interest rates for the U.S. Central Bank. Even if Trump can replace Lisa Cook, he's actually still as a minority. He's no closer to actually getting his interest rate cut that he wants. And all he's going to really do, fire up markets and make them really nervous. And that has economic spillover effects into the rest of the economy.
Also, interestingly, Phil, so despite the tension over trade going on right now, American tourists are actually still spending money traveling to Canada. So what are the numbers telling us about that?
Yeah, Canadians avoiding the U.S., but American tourists have actually spent more in Canada this year than in recent years. Those are new figures from Statistics Canada. First quarter of 2025, Americans spent $2.5 billion up here, accommodation, food, the usual stuff, up 27%. Now, it might surprise you until you look at kind of the details. Turns out, U.S. tourists are making fewer and shorter trips up here. They're just spending more. And the reason is the weak Canadian dollar makes our goods more cheaper to them when they come up here. So it's about 69 cents U.S. for the first quarter of 2025. So you look at that 27% increase. First quarter of this year, Canadians spent 8% less in the U.S. because it was the first quarter. It's accelerated since then, but 8% less in the first quarter, 11% fewer trips in the first quarter of the U.S. Meanwhile, we're going more to Mexico, Dominican Republic. Those kind of places accounted for more than 1/3 of all our outbound travel from Canada. And it's a problem for the American industry. The World Travel and Tourism Council thinks U.S. tourism is expected to lose $12.5 billion U.S. this year compared to last year.
So also Canada, we spoke about it earlier this hour, is dropping tariffs on some U.S. food imports next month. So does that mean things will be cheaper at the grocery store then?
We should see lower prices, just not right away. But again, for a simple reason, it takes a few weeks for the tariffed goods that the Sobeys and the Loblaws have already bought to work their way through the system. But any relief at the checkout counters, welcome. Food prices in Canada up 4.7% since January 1st. And if tariffs will affect a bunch of items, fresh produce, coffee, sugar, pasta. The most perishable items will get cheaper faster as inventory drops. crops. So look to the produce aisle for the earliest impact. Then you look at stuff like candy, peanut butter, the longer lived things. Well, they're going to sit there for a while until they work through the system. Big grocers are happy with the move to get rid of the tariffs. It means they'll have lower prices. People will buy more, and it doesn't really affect their profit margins. The question is, though, whether Canadians will go back to buying the American foods they bought before, or whether we're wedded to buying foods from new places like Chile. We get cherries from New Zealand. You got a bunch of stuff you see on the shelves now, and you go, I didn't know I could buy, an orange from there. You were buying them from the States before. Maybe you won't go back.
And finally, here, what's happening in the markets this morning?
Right now, Europe, France has a no confidence vote in that government, so that market down 1.5%. UK, Germany off 0.5% as well. There are new tariff threats against China out of the U.S., so Hong Kong down more than 1%. Oil's down $1.07, $63.73 a barrel. Gold's up $7, $3,424 an ounce. And the Canadian dollar is down, but only a tiny bit, trading at 72.23 cents U.S.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thanks, Corey.
That is Phil DeMont with your business news. 6:46 right now, and next on the show, the Deep Dark Woods announced their upcoming album, The Circle Remains. The album will be available to hear later this fall, but for now, we do have this song. Take a listen. This is Deep Dark Woods with Ruby.
Look at this photograph. It's you on your holiday. When you were drifting around and around. Oh, I made up my mind, I'll stay. But will you fix the light in this place? It's got me spinning around and around. Oh, please take it easy on me. I'm not that young anymore. My brain keeps drifting around and around. Now the lights are low. And the evening's shutting down. Oh, let's take a holiday. Maybe to France or Spain. Let's go drifting around and around. Oh, the way you say my name, you've never said it in vain. Got me spinning around and around. Yeah, I love it when the lights are low
That's the Deep Dark Woods with their new song, Ruby.
For breaking news as it happens, stay with CBC News. For the latest updates and what it means for Canadians, stay with CBC News. When the biggest stories break, both at home and around the world, stay with CBC News.
6:50 right now. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. 10 degrees, I think we're sitting at right now here in Winnipeg at the, 9, it just dropped to 9. We're at 9 degrees right now here in Winnipeg, but you can expect it to warm up to 28 today and should be mainly sunny for you. So next on the show on Friday, Prime Minister Mark Carney made a big announcement. Canada would be dropping certain counter tariffs on U.S. goods. And soon after, he was in Kiev on the first stop of a broader European tour. And to tell us more about the announcements at home and abroad, we've reached Alex Bollingal. He is Deputy Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Toronto Star. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning.
So Mark Carney visiting several European countries this week. Yesterday, he stopped in Poland. Today, he's in Germany, and finally, he'll head to Latvia. So let's just talk about the most recent development in terms of his announcement in Germany about submarines. What do we know about that?
Yeah, so they basically this was first announced as an intention of the government last year when they did a big defense policy update, which was, as Canada's looking to rearm and beef up its military, and now under Carney much faster, they want to replace this aging fleet of submarines that we have, that we've had for decades, with a new fleet of up to 12 subs that can operate under the ice in the Arctic and can serve as sort of a deterrence and detection and, force navigating all three coasts of Canada and potentially around the world. And so this is kind of the next step in that. They'd announced they want to explore this. They talked about up to 12, and now they've narrowed it down to 2 potential companies that would build these subs. There's this German-Norwegian partnership with this company that is based in Germany that's building subs. Canada's now looking at that, and that was what Carney announced in Germany today. And then the other company that's now on the short list of 2 is a South Korean company that's also making subs. So there had been a few other companies like Saab makes these big subs in Sweden as well, but it looks like they've narrowed it down to these 2, and that's kind of sort of like the next step towards buying a new fleet of subs in the context of this massive rearmament drive that, $9 billion added to the defense budget this year, and then Carney signing on to basically add, tens of billions in annual spending on top of that over the next decade as Canada looks to meet this new NATO target of 3.5% of core defense spending, 3.5% of GDP, I should say, of core defense spending by 2035. So that's basically what's going on with that.
He also started this trip to Europe with Ukraine on Sunday, where he made some commitments as well. Can you just remind us what those commitments are?
Yeah, I mean, obviously against the backdrop of the the American effort to somehow end the war with Putin, Canada has been expressing solidarity with Ukraine. So Carney going into Kyiv on the weekend, even just symbolically, obviously a moment to stand with Ukraine. I think the most significant thing coming out of that is potentially leaving the door open. And I think it was already open, but, even in the context now, leaving it open to having Canadian troops go into Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire peace deal to help preserve that peace and act as kind of a deterrent against further Russian aggression if the war comes to a close or if there is a ceasefire. There's some European countries that also have the door open to potentially doing that. And, Carney's basically going in and saying we're standing with Ukraine on that as we insist that any agreement to end this war can't be kind of forced on Ukraine. It has to be done with Ukraine's involvement. So there can't be like a land for peace deal that's just forced upon them. Ukraine really has to be at the table to make decisions about its own sort of sovereign territory. And so, Carney was waving that flag and standing with Vladimir Zelensky on that this weekend.
Let's bring it back home here, because before Carney left, he made a pretty significant announcement, of course, about those counter tariffs being lifted. So, what was the response of other political leaders in Ottawa and across Canada to that announcement?
I mean, the premiers have been kind of divided on the issue of counter tariffs. Some want less counter tariffs. Some want, a tougher response. On the federal level, it was slammed, especially by Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, basically saying this is, another capitulation by Carney to Trump, and sort of almost like a betrayal of the message he advanced during the federal election, which was elbows up. We're going to win the trade war. Tough talk to go up against Trump in the trade war. Poilievre saying, well, he's backing down on these counter tariffs. He's not getting anything in return. They backed down on imposing a digital services tax, which people might remember. The Trudeau government had been planning that for a while. In the summer, Trump threatened to walk away from trade talks because of this. He would tax American companies, basically in Canada, big web giants. And so the Carney government backed down and canceled it at the 11th hour. So, the criticism of this move on Friday to drop some counter tariffs on goods that comply with the CUSMA trade deal is kind of was cast in that light by Carney's political opponents, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But we know that there are some people who are happy about it. We actually had the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses on earlier. They do like, a lot of small businesses are very happy to see these counter tariffs go. So who else, was supportive of, this latest move to drop those counter tariffs?
Definitely, like some business groups, like the Business Council of Canada and stuff, were supportive of it. And I'm sure that your listeners heard, but the general logic is that since March, the Americans have exempted a huge swath of Canadian goods that comply with the trade deal from their tariffs. So that despite the trade war and despite the hammering that's been done on certain sectors like steel, aluminum, and cars, overall, Canada's access to the U.S. market is at a tariff level that's lower than much of the world because of this big exemption. And so business groups really want to preserve that because they see it as giving Canada, if these tariffs are a new reality that you kind of have to buy your way into the U.S. market by paying tariffs, then this is if Canada has a lower tariff than everyone else, that's a comparative or relative advantage, and they want to preserve that. So the people that support this move see this as a way to preserve that advantage by giving the Americans that advantage to come into our country, exempting goods that comply with CUSMA. It's a way to potentially continue the talks to get rid of the sectoral tariffs and also preserve this advantage that the business groups see as really an advantage for Canada right now.
Well, Alex, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Alex Ballingal is the Deputy Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Toronto Star. 6:58. Let's check in with Heather Wells with the Look at News headlines.
Good morning. Work is underway to rebuild homes in a Manitoba subdivision destroyed by wildfire in May. 2 people were killed, 28 homes destroyed in the arm of Lac du Bonnet. Some property owners are starting to put down new foundations. We're going to hear more about that. And it's by-election day in Spruce Woods in Western Manitoba. People elect a new MLA. More news from Manitoba coming up at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather. Stay tuned. Coming up here on Information Radio, a downtown business says in the past his store would get around 300 customers per day, but now he's lucky if he gets 80. And he says it's all thanks to a new transit system. So more from this business owner on why he believes the transit overhaul has been bad for business and what he would like to see from the city. That's all coming up after World Report. Stay tuned.
Today on The Current.
I'm Susan Bonner. Despite what many experts thought, the Canadian and the U.S. economies aren't doing bad in the wake of Donald Trump's tariffs, but concerns remain.
Things have not been as bad as we feared. They're not great, but they have not been as bad as they feared.
How will these economies fare in the coming months and years? Coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canada and Germany are working together on a critical minerals action plan. And Energy Minister Tim Hodgson says they're making good progress today in Berlin.
We had 3 new projects that were announced today between Canadian and German companies on the critical minerals front.
Those deals include a lithium agreement, a long-term arrangement to send Canadian copper to Germany, and a plan to create a rare earth magnet supply chain. But it is not easy to get Canada's resources overseas. Prime Minister Mark Carney says his government is working on that too, and he will have a new announcement in the next 2 weeks.
New port infrastructure, and some of the examples in the public domain will include from reinforcing and building on the Port of Montreal, Contrecoeur, a new port effectively in Churchill, Manitoba, which would open up enormous LNG plus other opportunities, and other East Coast ports for those critical metals and minerals.
If Canada can start shipping liquefied natural gas from Churchill, Manitoba to Germany, that will be a significant development. Berlin has signaled it is more open to using Canadian natural gas to transition away from Russian energy. Families and supporters of hostages being held by Hamas are demanding Israel's government make a deal now. They are demonstrating across Israel today in what's being called a day of struggle. They want the war in Gaza to end and the remaining hostages released. Our senior international correspondent, Margaret Evans, has more from Jerusalem.
Demonstrators pounding drums and holding pictures of the hostages aloft blocked roads and highways in and out of Israeli cities, disrupting the morning commute. Dalia Kuzner's brother-in-law, Itan, is one of 20 hostages still thought to be alive.
We're trying to make the Prime Minister sign this deal, even though we don't think it's the best hostage deal because it's only a partial one.
Hamas accepted a deal put forward by mediators last week, based on a temporary ceasefire and an initial release of half the hostages. Despite having previously agreed to staged releases, Benjamin Netanyahu now insists all hostages be released at once. Israeli journalist Anshel Pfeffer says his refusal comes even though most Israelis favor such a deal.
He is looking to the people who can keep him in power, and those are not the people on the street. Those are those far-right parties in his coalition who make no secret of the fact that they want to hold on to Gaza in perpetuity.
International pressure is building on Netanyahu after the UN's hunger watchdog confirmed famine in Gaza City last week, saying 500,000 Palestinians are facing starvation and death, and predicting those numbers are likely to grow. There has also been widespread outrage over the deaths of 5 more Palestinian journalists in an Israeli strike on a hospital in Gaza yesterday. Netanyahu called it a tragic mishap. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Vietnam is still being lashed with rain and wind after Typhoon Kajiki passed through. Officials say 3 people were killed in the storm and more were injured. The typhoon hit central Vietnam on Monday with winds of up to 130 kilometers per hour. Laura Westbrook has more on the fallout.
Residents in Nha An province are cleaning up after Typhoon Kajiki swept through Vietnam's central provinces. The storm, which means swordfish in Japanese, knocked down power lines, uprooted trees, and ripped corrugated roofs off people's homes and businesses. The roof collapsed on 42-year-old Teton's restaurant.
Everything we earned during the last summer has been washed away by this storm.
A study published last year warned seas warmed by climate change will result in Southeast Asia's tropical cyclones forming closer to land, strengthening faster and lasting longer. Author Ben Horton says that means Vietnam will see more big typhoons.
There was a hotspot offshore of Vietnam, so that gives a typhoon the energy to rapidly develop, which has problems for warning. You now don't have several days, you have a day or a very few hours to warn your population and evacuate, so you need better evacuation emergency management measures.
The storm weakened to a tropical depression as it moved across Laos on Tuesday, but Vietnam's weather agency is warning heavy rain will continue, raising the risk of flash floods and landslides. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
The wildfire in Nova Scotia's Annapolis County has more than doubled in size in the last 2 days. It has forced about 1,000 people from their homes. New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Labrador have offered help. But as the CBC's Nicolas Seguin reports, crews in those provinces are also still battling out-of-control fires.
I'm going to try to find a place to stay. I'm living in my truck right now.
Tim Donald was evacuated from his home Sunday night as the fast-moving Long Lake wildfire pushed hundreds more people to flee. As officials confirm a number of homes have been destroyed, Donald's could be one of them.
I'd hate to lose all our belongings, our house, our garage, our barn, all our equipment, stuff we've worked so hard to have.
Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston says hot and dry conditions have fanned the flames. The wildfire more than doubling in size Monday to close to 78 square kilometers.
It's an awful feeling, an out-of-control fire.
Houston saying more evacuations are possible, speaking directly to homeowners.
You're going through something that is completely unimaginable, most people's worst nightmare.
Across the region, some fires are still burning out of control, but things are looking up. New Brunswick is fighting 18 wildfires, down from 39 in weeks past. In Newfoundland, the Kingston fire that destroyed more than 200 homes is still not under control, but it hasn't grown, allowing some residents like Eugene Howell to return home.
I think a lot of people are traumatized when they go back to their homes.
Though conditions are turning in some parts of Atlantic Canada, bringing hope after weeks of anguish, Nova Scotia is still battling the worst of it. And though some rain is falling, officials warn it won't bring much relief. Nicolas Seguin, CBC News, Halifax.
U.S. President Donald Trump has fired Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Cook is one of 7 members of the central bank's board of governors. Trump wrote on social media that there is sufficient reason to believe Cook made false statements on mortgage agreements. She denies the allegations. The Trump administration has criticized Cook and some of her colleagues for voting against lowering interest rates last month. The attempt to fire Cook is being seen as an escalation of conflict between the White House and the Federal Reserve. Cook says she will not resign and that Trump has no cause to fire her. A new federal program meant to help low-income Canadians with disabilities is off to a rocky start. Payments for the Canada Disability Benefit started going out in July. But in the second month, a technical glitch kept many people from getting their money on time. As Ben Andrews tells us, a lot of people were counting on those payments.
Welcome. You've reached the Canada Disability Benefit Call Centre.
An automated message greets callers.
A limited number of client payments remain outstanding.
Many wondering what happened to an August payment that hasn't showed up in their account. John Reddens is one of them. He's eligible for money from the Canada Disability Benefit. The program pays up to $200 per month.
Being on a disability, it does help. Every dollar helps. Any small amount is crucial to someone surviving.
The House of Commons passed the benefit in 2023. Money started going out this July, but already Reddens says his August payment was delayed. He had earmarked the money to cover an expense and faced service charges after it fell through. His experience isn't unique.
They were counting on this money. They had plans for this money, and then for this money not to show up into their account is a huge disappointment.
Rabia Haidar is with advocacy group Disability Without Poverty. She says many people were affected by a technical glitch and need reassurances after the breach in trust.
So people with disabilities are in deep, deep, deep poverty. And this $200 is inching closer to that poverty line.
Employment and Social Development Canada confirmed some payments remain outstanding. It says the delay was due to an isolated systems issue, but most payments went through. The department says efforts are underway to issue the remaining money in the next few days. Ben Andrews, CBC News, Ottawa.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. If you like the World Report podcast, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps spread the word. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Good morning to you. It is August 26th. It is a Tuesday. And coming up first here this hour.
My heart says that we'll rebuild. I'm tired of looking at it sadly, so you have to go forward and not behind.
In eastern Manitoba, months after wildfires devastated Lac du Bonnet, new foundations are starting to rise out of the ashes. But for residents, the question is how to keep that hope alive. That's coming up shortly here. Also this hour on the show, the union representing Université de Saint-Boniface professors say they intend to strike in 2 weeks. And the move comes after they've spent more than 1,000 days at the bargaining table with the administration. The union president is going to join us at 7:50. Also, a fun story. Last weekend, Winnipeg played host to the first ever Indigenous car show, and it featured some culturally relevant categories you might not have heard of, like the Res Rocket category. We sent a producer there to learn more, so stay tuned for that at 7:40. But right now, though, at 7:11, let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, the family of a teen who drowned at a City of Winnipeg pool last year is suing the city and 4 lifeguards. The parents of Adam Serrata Paul filed a statement of claim with Manitoba Court of King's Bench. The 14-year-old was found unconscious in the deep end of the pool at the Cindy Clausen Rec Complex on April 1st of 2024. We'll hear more. And Steinbach City Council is rejecting a request for a plebiscite on allowing cannabis stores. Council turned down the request from Jesse Lavoie at Toba Grown, a Winnipeg-based cannabis supplier. Deputy Mayor Michael Zagstra says the matter was already decided in a plebiscite in 2018.
We don't just simply rush to have a plebiscite just because someone who lives in Winnipeg asks us to hold one.
Lavoie says he is now organizing a petition to force a Steinbach-wide vote. I'll be back with more Manitoba News at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Now let's check in with a look at your weather. Abby Ademi is in. Hello.
Good morning once again. A warm and mostly sunny day across the southern part of the province, and we'll see that sunny conditions also spread into the northern regions. Outside now, if you look out, it's already sunny. The Red River Valley, the Pembina, the Interlake, the Parkland region, we're already seeing sunshine in that part of the province. In Winnipeg right now, 8 degrees, sunny outside through the morning. This sunshine will be sticking around. Then we will see a transition to a mix of sun and clouds building. Probably during your lunch break, the winds will shift coming from the west and it will feel breezy at some point. We'll see temperatures climb to a high of, between 25 and 28 degrees. That's what we'll see the temperatures climb to today. And then later in the evening, we'll see some cool conditions. And for the southern part of the province, we're looking at similar conditions. We're seeing temperatures ranging from 8 to 16 degrees. Sunny already. These sunny conditions will be holding till the afternoon period. Then we'll see temperatures 28 and 29 in most of the regions. Well, up north, we're seeing temperatures hover between 10 and 14 degrees at this time. Winnipeg, we are at 8 degrees, climbing to 25.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That's Abby Adeyemi keeping an eye on your weather. Also with us here in studio is our director, Sierra Sanders, who's keeping an eye on your commute. Hello.
Hello. Not hearing about too much going on out there on this late August Tuesday morning. So things are moving pretty well out there on your commute. Not hearing about any major incidents getting in people's ways. But if that is not the case, whether you are here in the city or out on the highways, I would love to know what you are seeing. And the number to call is 204-788-3093.
Well, for the first time in decades, Erin Banville isn't spending the summer in her Lac du Bonnet home. Banville has owned the waterfront property for 20 years and lived in it permanently for 5. But this past May, it burned to the ground. In all, 28 properties were destroyed in the RM of Lac du Bonnet this past May in the fire that claimed the lives of Sue and Rich Noel. Despite the loss, devastation, and destruction, Banville says she's starting to see signs of hope. Yesterday, CBC's Josh Crabb visited her where her home once stood on Wendigo Road. Here's some of their conversation.
Where are you standing right now?
In the kitchen. In the kitchen area. Actually, probably at the sink. Yeah.
Is it hard to be here?
It's not hard. It's nice to see growth. It's nice to see people spending more time here, rebuilding, being in the area. It's sad, but also new beginnings. And I still love it here. You can't get a better location, I think. There's something about being by the water. I'm tired of looking at it, sadly. So you have to go forward and not behind.
You are rebuilding.
We are going to take some more time to figure all of that out still. Would like to think that we're going to rebuild. You just can't answer that question right at the moment. There's stuff still with insurances that we have to decide upon. But my heart says that we'll rebuild.
I'm curious about what the cleanup process was like, because it has changed quite a bit since I was last here. I think in May, end of May 22nd it would have been, so 3 months ago. It looks like quite a bit of work has been done.
It has. That Christian ministry group came in and helped. Everybody took advantage of that, and it was on a donation based. And they did a wonderful job. You can see what they did to take away all of the burn and the aluminum, all the stuff. It helped tremendously. They took down some trees. That was an integral part of the cleanup for us. You can see that it's just, it helps, I think, with everything, all of that structure being, those burnt structures being gone and then bringing new life, new stuff grows. We were thankful for that. And yeah.
Walking us through what happened the day you had to leave here, do you still think about that often? What stands out about that day?
Oh, I wish we could have had so much more time and take more stuff out and just be a little more prepared. We lost our home, and nothing's gonna bring back the memories, the stuff we had in there. My husband's 70 years old. He's been collecting. I've been collecting. We had my mother who passed away. His father passed away. There's stuff that we'll never be able to replace. Just all different types of antiques. It was quite wonderful to see. It was very museum-like. We'll never get that back. There's just and memories of my mom's pictures of my childhood, my brother, family I'll never see again, and that is something that on a day-to-day is pretty hard, but every day is better.
You said that Jerry, your husband, working on the dock that day. Do you still sort of remember that day?
Yeah, had full, beautiful weather, although the black smoke that was coming our direction, really windy that day, high temperatures. We had 3 sections of the dock, and he had just gotten one in and taking a break, and the smoke coming at us and getting thicker and thicker, and it was just neighbors running to us, and that we just decided to go because we didn't have any other, nobody was giving us notification to leave, so we kind of had to do it on our own.
You just saw what looked like a troubling situation.
A troubling situation, and the wind was coming direct for us, so kind of figuring out, oh yeah, that could be a situation, and we decided to go. We had a booster, so I was able to get on social media, Facebook. If it wasn't for Facebook, there would have been no notice, no nothing, which is a little weird, but yeah.
Is there anything you think the RM can do to improve communications during a time of crisis like that?
There has to be better notification systems, but they did the best they could with what they had at the time.
What is the next step for you guys?
One day at a time. I can't think too much further than that. We need to settle with insurance and get through the summer. It's a week a weekly thing. You spend time going over insurance papers, what we lost, contents lists, and then you have some fun with your neighbors and sit around, commiserate together, and that's enough for me right at this time. It's nice that my neighbors, those are the full-timers, and so they've picked up the pieces, and that means their insurance is working for them, the government's working for them, our municipality, the town, hydro. That means all of that is coming together for them, and that's what we hope for us and our neighbors eventually all, right? That's a great thing. So it's happiness. I wish we were doing the same, just not yet. You know, good things will come.
Erin Banville is a resident from the RM of Lac du Bonny, whose home was claimed by a fast-moving wildfire this past spring. Well, 7:21 right now. We're listening to Information Radio. It is 9 at the Forks right now. We're heading for a high today of about 28. And next on the show, William Prince has new music on the way. His new album, Further from the Country, will be arriving this fall, and it'll be the 5th studio album from the Peguis First Nation songwriter. And here's the lead single, a song about the lonely miles in life's journey. This is On Rolls the Wheel.
Back alive, 'cause my tires ain't paid for, all depends on the take home. Wire back the loot to make it right. The road it is long, but my thoughts they run longer into the quiet of the night. And I wake up lonely, this place where no one knows me, drive to another the next day. Then a brand new chapter, born the day after, the last of the miles towards my grave. And I've been here before, and I'll be here again. On rolls the wheel, on rolls the wheel. At the loneliest man in the world near Mervyn County, driving through a town with my last name. His house and his body could use a woman's touch. Guys like us don't often change. So I wake up lonely, this place where no one knows me, drive to another the next day. Then a brand new chapter, born the day after, the last of the miles towards my grave. And I've been here before, and I'll be here again. On rolls the wheel, on rolls the wheel.
That's William Prince with his song On Rolls the Wheel. And if you like that, it's just one song off his upcoming album, which is coming out on October 17th. It's called Further from the Country. So definitely mark your calendars for that one. Well, 7:25 right now. Let's check in with Scott Regehr, who is with us to talk about sports. Hello.
Hey, Corey.
So with their biggest star back from injury, the Blue Jays got back on the winning track.
They did with Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Corey. He's not back on the field quite yet, but it was good to see him back in the batter's box last night. He's still recovering from that hamstring ailment, so Vladdy served as the designated hitter. And, wouldn't you know it, his two-run single helped break the game open in the sixth inning. The Jays would score 4 in total in that frame, helping secure another victory for Max Scherzer.
That's what blew it open. I go up there, give up a few runs there, but they come back and answer. Just when you think the game's close, no, they blow it right back on open. And, that's demoralizing to the other team. That's what makes this so fun is that, everybody's a part of this. Everybody's got a hand on this of why we win, pitching, hitting, defense, you name it. And that's what makes it so much fun to keep you coming to the park every single day.
And it'll be even more fun, Corey, if the Jays have Vladdy back playing first base tonight, which is a possibility. Here's another possibility. It's Looney Hot Dog Night in Toronto. Ooh. And with another sellout expected, the record for most dogs consumed in a single game could come under threat. Because I know you're wondering, and it's a slow sports day. The current record is 84,731.
Wow. I actually happened to be at a Jays game for a Looney Hot Dog Night one time, and I think I may have had 4. So I would
4?
Yeah. I know.
I think that's below the average, actually. Disgustingly enough. I think you went pretty light on the dogs.
Okay, if you could look into the average dog consumption, seeing
I
it's
will.
the slow
You
sports
know
day.
I will.
Okay, I know you will. Okay, good. Well, let's head now from the diamond to the court. So what's the latest at the U.S. Open?
Well, Victoria and Mboko, Corey, may have been eliminated yesterday, but there is still a strong contingent of Canadians. Denis Shapovalov and Felix Auger-Aliassime included. Those two guys play their opening matches today. Auger-Aliassime, Corey, takes on Brit Billy Harris, and among other things, this is a chance for Felix to continue raising funds for his favorite initiative. For years now, the Montrealers donated money for every point that he's won to youth programs in Togo. That's where his dad, Sam's, from.
Seeing firsthand where he grew up and the tennis court that gave him the first passion for the sport, it gave me actually even more respect for him because as an adult now, you're like, this was way more challenging than what I ever faced. So he tells you stories as a kid, but it can never match, seeing it from your own eyes. His desire to succeed in life and to work hard and to be consistent with that, going there, it gave me even more respect for what he's done in his life.
Felix travels back to Togo every few years to visit communities that are benefiting from his initiative. It provides resources like school supplies, renovations to educational facilities, and improved sanitation. This program also has sent several Togolese youth to university. Felix donates $5 for every point he wins, something to consider as he plays his first-round match in New York this afternoon at 1 o'clock Central Time.
And finally here, since we're kind of creeping closer and closer to fall, let's talk about hockey.
Yeah, the inaugural Women's World Para Hockey Championship, Corey, starts today in Slovakia, Canada among the 6 teams involved. This is a stepping stone event en route to women's hockey joining the Paralympics come 2030. Until now, there's only been a mixed gender hockey tournament at the Paralympics, and only a handful of women have ever been involved. Here's Fonthill, Ontario's Christina Picton.
This inaugural World Championships is obviously a really big stepping stone for that big dream, big goal. So I think as long as we can kind of capitalize on the momentum that we're gaining from this event and, continue the conversation for the next 2, 3, 4 years and just make our way at the table there. That's kind of what I see for us in the future, just continuing to build.
Canada's team plays today in Slovakia against a club, well, Team World is what it's being called, a squad comprised of the best players from 9 different countries. As for the Canadian roster, among the players, a couple of Manitobans, Peyton Vergy, a defender, and Alyssa White. She's from Winnipeg and one of the top forwards on Team Canada. You can read more about them on our website this morning.
Thank you very much, Scott.
You betcha.
That is Scott Reguera with your morning sports. Stay tuned here to Information Radio. Have you ever heard the term Res Rocket, or how about Indian car? Well, those well-loved cars were proudly up for show alongside some spiffier vehicles at Winnipeg's first ever Indigenous car show over the weekend. We're going to take you there after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's 12 degrees. This is the day we finally warm up in Winnipeg. Mix of sun and clouds. A high of 28. That's quite a bit above seasonal, so quite a bit warmer than we were yesterday. There's still a chance of late day showers. An emotional plea from a mother on the second anniversary of her son's disappearance. 2 years ago, 25-year-old Lyndon McIver went out with friends on Lake Manitoba First Nation and vanished. His body was found 5 days later in a wooded area. RCMP say it was a homicide and are looking for information from the public. His mother, Cheryl Meitwe-Ashing, has recorded a YouTube video issued today by police.
If it's your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, ask them to talk, because it's affecting a lot of people.
Meitwe-Ashing says she can't bury her son's ashes until she knows what happened to him. A renewed sense of optimism in a Manitoba subdivision destroyed by wildfire earlier this year. 28 homes in the RM of Lac du Bonny burned this past May. The fire also claimed the lives of 2 people. A stretch of Wendigo Road was hit hard. Some people there have started putting down new foundations now to replace what was lost. Erin Banville's permanent home burned to the ground. While she and her husband aren't ready to rebuild right now, Banville says seeing others start the work brings them hope.
It's nice to see growth. It's nice to see people spending more time here, rebuilding, being in the area. It's sad, but also new beginnings.
Many people in the area have spent the past 3 months cleaning up the charred debris, and volunteers from an Ontario-based group have also pitched in to help. It is by-election day in Spruce Woods. People in that Western Manitoba municipality will vote for their next MLA starting in half an hour. Polls open at 8. That area has long voted in Progressive Conservatives, but the other parties are putting up a fight. CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
No party other than the Progressive Conservatives has won Spruce Woods since it was created in 2011. And today the Tories aim to keep it that way, while the NDP and Liberals have other plans. Spruce Woods is a mostly rural riding in Westman that includes the north part of Brandon. A by-election was triggered after Tory MLA Grant Jackson resigned this year to run federally. He's now the MP for Brandon-Souris. 3 candidates are vying to replace Jackson in Manitoba's legislature. The PCs have party official Colleen Robbins on the ballot, while the NDP selected former real estate agent Ray Berthollet, and the Liberals have teacher Stephen Reed. The governing NDP made a flurry of spending announcements in southwestern Manitoba leading up to the by-election. The PCs accused the government of trying to buy votes, which the NDP denied. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The family of a teen who drowned at a City of Winnipeg pool last year is suing the city and 4 lifeguards. The parents of Adam Sereda Paul issued a statement of claim with the Manitoba Court of King's Bench last Thursday. The 14-year-old was found unconscious in the deep end of the pool at the Cindy Clausen Rec Complex on April 1st, 2024. He was later pronounced dead in hospital. In their statement of claim, the parents say the city owed Adam a statutory duty of care. They allege the lifeguards were, quote, inexperienced and immature and failed to supervise or guard Adam. The parents are seeking $110,000 from each of the 5 defendants, as well as other damages. None of the allegations have been tested in court. A city spokesperson declined comment. The Prime Minister is once again voicing support for a new port in Churchill. Mark Carney is in Germany working on a critical minerals action plan, things like a lithium agreement, long-term arrangement to send Canadian copper to Germany, and a plan to create a rare earth magnet supply chain. But getting Canada's resources overseas isn't easy. Carney says he will have more to say about this in the next 2 weeks.
New port infrastructure, and some of the examples in the public domain will include from reinforcing and building on the Port of Montreal, Contrecoeur, a new port effectively in Churchill, Manitoba, which would open up enormous LNG plus other opportunities, and other East Coast ports for those critical metals and minerals.
And Berlin is signaling it is more open to using Canadian natural gas to transition away from Russian energy. You can hear more on this story coming up on World Report at 8. Steinbach City Council has turned down a request for a plebiscite on allowing cannabis stores. The request came from Jesse Lavoie, president of a cannabis supplier, Toba Grown. The Winnipeg-based company grows cannabis just outside Steinbach. Steinbach held a plebiscite on retail cannabis stores in 2018, but most of the voters at that time voted it down. Now, only one councillor is in favor of holding a new plebiscite. Jake Siemens says opinions have changed and the city has grown since 2018.
We want to be the largest center in southeastern Manitoba. We want to be the hub, and we should have those services as well. Or at least we should have the vote. We should let the people decide if that's what they want.
Lavoie at Toba Grown says he is organizing a petition campaign in Steinbach. That campaign would need to be signed by 20% of registered voters in order to force a citywide vote. You can find more Manitoba news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. And let's check in with Abby Adiemi, who's got a look at your regional forecast.
Good morning once again. A warm and sunny day across southern Manitoba today. We'll see some cloud cover rolling later in the afternoon, but we start sunny. Northern regions, we're already forecasting a chance of rain and thunderstorms up north. Winnipeg at this time, we're reading 12 degrees at the airports and 8 degrees at the Forks this morning. Both areas of the city enjoying sunny skies. Later, expect a mix of sun and clouds, and more clouds will roll in late in the afternoon. We'll see the winds shift, and that will be coming from the west, and it becomes breezy at some point. Temperatures will warm to 28 degrees, but with the humidity factored in, it will be feeling close to 31 degrees. And then for the Pembina Valley region, Morden, Winkler, Altoona, Morris, we're seeing 16 degrees in that part of the province. Also sunny conditions there. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds later, but this morning it is starting sunny. Temperatures will also get to 28 degrees. The humidity is going to be around 30-31. In the Westman region, Brandon all the way down to the Minnedosa area, we're seeing sunny skies at this time. 7 degrees we're reading. Then we'll see a mix of sun and clouds later in the day. There's a slim chance of showers for the Westman region sometime this afternoon. The winds will shift to come out of the west and becomes breezy also later in the day. Temperatures get to 28 degrees. In the Parkland region, Dauphin, Russell, Roblin, surrounding areas, we're seeing 10 degrees with sunny skies. This sunny condition will continue this morning into the afternoon period. Then some cloudy conditions will roll in. We do have a slim chance of showers also for that part of the province. Temperatures warms to 27 degrees. In the Interlake region, we're looking at 12 degrees in Gimli at this time. Sunny conditions we're getting, a mix of sun and clouds, but before the clouds roll in, it's going to be sunny this morning while the cloud will roll in late in the afternoon. Winds will shift coming out of the south and becomes breezy. 28 degrees is a high for that part of the province. In the northern regions, talking about the Flim Flam, we're looking at 13. Clear skies at this time. We will see some sunny conditions, then it transitions to a mix of sun and clouds. For that region, we're expecting a chance of showers late in the afternoon, along with a risk of thunderstorms. Temperatures will only warm to 28 degrees. For Thompson, currently we have 10 degrees we're reading 10 degrees in that part of the province with shallow fog. We will see some sunny conditions this morning, then a mix of sun and clouds, a good chance of showers this afternoon, along with a risk of thunderstorms. The winds will shift coming out of the southwest, becoming light later in the day. Temperatures get to 23 degrees, while for Churchill and the York region, 10 degrees also we're spotting in that part of the province. Mostly cloudy skies. We will see showers this morning, then it's going to end in the afternoon. We're looking at 5 to 10 millimeters of rain in that part of the province once the system goes through. Winds will shift coming out of the northeast and becomes light later this morning. The high will just stay around 10 degrees where they are right now up north. So conclusion, I'll tell you, it's warm and it's going to be sunny down south, and then we'll see more cloud cover in the evening parts of the day. But up north, it's more about the cooler, cloudier, and wetter conditions for the northern region with a chance of thunderstorms. Winnipeg right now, we're spotting 8 at the Fox, 12 at Airport. A comfortable start to a humid day.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That is Abby Adeyemi. Also with us now is Sierra Sanders, who's keeping an eye on a very vacation-y commute.
Yes, I think that's how we've described it. And I think people are squeezing in this last bit of summer vacation and ahead of the long weekend this week. I think that's what folks are out there doing this week. Good for them.
Yeah, I'm sure the traffic in Brereton Lake right now is crazy.
I know. So maybe if you're listening and you're in Brereton, what's the traffic out there? What's
yeah,
it
exactly.
like?
Big backups.
Exactly. Just wanted to note some construction that actually started yesterday, but all eastbound lanes on Redwood Avenue between Salter Street and Charles Street are closed. And this is expected to last until September 10th. And also during this time, it will actually switch from all eastbound lane closures to all westbound lane closures. So we don't know exactly when that switchover will happen, but for right now, all eastbound lanes on Redwood Avenue between Salter Street and Charles Street are closed for construction work. And as I mentioned, at an undisclosed date that we don't know about yet, it will switch to all westbound lanes. But when we know, we will make sure we let you know out there. And this is expected to last until September 10th. So a little bit of time, a little stretch there, but a couple days into September there. It should wrap up. But if you're seeing anything out there on the roads right now, would love to hear about it. You can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. The number is 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Sierra.
Thank you.
That is our studio director, Sierra Sanders. Well, next up here on Information Radio, when most people think of a car show, they imagine shiny, beautiful vehicles that any collector would be proud to show off. But Winnipeg's first ever Indigenous car show also celebrated the reliable rust buckets that always start and get people from A to B. The car show was held Sunday at Don's Auto Repair. And at the show, muscle cars and classic vehicles were invited to park alongside res rockets and so-called Indian cars. CBC's Sid Sundance Horshig went there to learn more.
My name's Sky McLean from Nisichawasik Cree Nation, but I grew up in Winnipeg. I think that first and foremost, it's a lovely idea to have things in the community. We love North End, Point Douglas-based events, and I think it's super important to have that representation because Native people love cars. You know, we always have trucks, And some of the categories that we have here today are Res Rocket and Indian Car. What do those names mean to Indigenous people? Res Rockets get you where you need to be, and they are reliable and they are falling apart. I think it's an awesome category. I've been excited for it since this morning, and yeah, it's duly needed for sure.
You know, that Res Rocket is like Oliver's first car. You know, my first car I bought for, I think, $350. And I drove it everywhere, did everything with it, no matter the bumper covers flapping in the wind or the fenders were flapping, whatever. You know, you drove that thing like, you drove it everywhere and it went through every type of terrain, even though it's not four-wheel drive. You drove it like it was a four-wheel drive, but it got you from point A to point B. And you just drove it fast. You knew if it was going to die, at least the momentum would keep it going. It's like our horse, right? Takes us everywhere. It takes us to all those powwows, gets us out to go home, visit our families.
Do you have any fond memories of riding in a Res Rocket or an Indian car? My cousin up north, she actually has an Indian bus. It's like a giant RV. She got a really good deal on it, and we took it to Nelson House. And if you know Nelson House, the road to Nelson House is crazy. So we're in this bus bouncing up and down in this res bus, and it was the talk of the powwow that weekend because it's so big and clunky.
Yeah, I had Chevy S10, and I loved that thing. It was a manual too, so it was like, you shifted. Everything was metal. There was no plastic on there, eh? It didn't have air conditioning either, but the holes in the floors kept a nice breeze coming through, and I loved that thing. And I tell you, I could pull my camper 140 going down Route 44 there.
Why do you think it is important to have Indigenous representation like this at a car show? I think it's important to include categories like Res Rocket because a lot of families have Res Rockets. A lot of us have cars that are resi, and it's relatable.
That was Sid Sundance Horshig at Winnipeg's first ever Indigenous car show. We've got a song for you here that probably inspired some of those categories. Here is NDN Cars by Keith Secola. You're hearing it right here on CBC Radio 1.
I've been driving in my Indian car, to the pound of the wheels drumming in my brain. My dash is dusty, my plates are expired. Please, Mr. Officer, let me explain. I got to make it to a powwow tonight. I'll be singing 49 down by the riverside, looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car. Got my T-bird in the glove box, I ain't got no spare. Got a feather from an eagle, I ain't got no care. The road is empty in my bottle of desire. Daylight is breaking, the sun touches fire. I got to make another powwow tonight. I'll be singing 49 down by the riverside, looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car. Car is dented, the radiator steams. One headlight don't work, the radio can scream. I got a sticker that says Indian Power. I stuck it on a bumper, that's what holds my car together. We're on the circuit of an Indian dream. We don't get old, we just get younger. When we're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian car. On the circuit of an Indian dream. We don't get old, we just get younger. When we're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian cars. Riding in our Indian cars. Riding in our Indian cars. Go ahead, go ahead.
That's Keith Secola with Indian Car.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know. Breaking news that shapes our world. Staying on top of stories around the globe. And connected close to home. It's news you can trust. Delivered when you want and where you want. On Canada's News app. Now with CBC Radio 1. Local and live. Download the CBC News app for free. If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
Here on Information Radio. And stay tuned because after 8 o'clock, we're going to talk about melatonin. Because with back to school around the corner, some parents are giving their kids that popular supplement to help them get their sleep schedules back on track. But is it healthy? We're going to talk with a pediatrician about that. But first, here on Information Radio, professors at the University of St. Boniface say they plan to strike in 2 weeks. Faculty says they've spent more than 1,000 days at the bargaining table with senior administration. Their union, called the Association of Professors and Professionals of USB, says negotiations have been unsuccessful. But last week, a mediator joined the table for discussions, but the union said Monday that those attempts have failed. Phi-Van Nguyen is a spokesperson for the union. She's also a history professor at the University of St. Boniface, and she joins us here in studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Just a quick correction.
Okay.
We've been bargaining for a year. It was the last collective agreement that was bargained for over 900 days.
Oh, I got you. Okay, thank you
Sorry.
for that update. No, appreciate that. So let's start. So how do you feel about, it's still a long time to be bargaining. So, just kind of tell us, why has it taken so long?
Well, this is a very good question because we believe that USB has the money and we are in a rather favorable political context, but I think it's a matter of choice. It is always possible to put more money in the rainy day funds. It is possible to put money into the investment portfolio or into new buildings. But at the end of the day, if the university's primary mission is teaching and research excellence, I believe, and it seems quite obvious, that this money should be invested in the people who make this mission possible on an everyday basis.
So what is the sticking point then for these negotiations? Is it wages then?
Well, we have three main demands, and actually it seems to be sticking on every single one of them. One is the return to pay parity with our counterparts, which is U of M or the University of Winnipeg, or the French School Division for our teaching faculty. We're also asking for a more balanced teaching load. Right now, we're teaching 6 classes a year. For some of us, it's 7 classes. And we're asking for regular faculty, those who do research, a maximum of 5, the same as the University of Winnipeg. And for our teaching faculty, a very cap at 6 classes a year and not 7, as it is the case today.
And what is the difference in terms of your salaries versus, say, U of M or something like that?
It is important. Right now, we are being paid around 20% less than our counterparts. And this affects us, our working conditions, of course, because we have troubles recruiting and training and attracting new people. And ultimately, this has an impact on the learning conditions of our students because we are less people to take care of the programs, the teaching, etc.
So a mediator was brought in. Clearly we're at this point now, but did it make any difference? Did you make any movement on any of these issues at all?
Unfortunately, I don't know myself what happened during the mediations, but it hasn't produced conclusive results. And I believe it is actually more concerning than that. We have no future meeting that is being planned, which means there is no basis for future discussion. We don't know who exactly will take the next step to get out of this deadlock.
So, the bargaining deadline your union set is on September 12th. And after that, you said you'll form a picket line on September 15th. So why strike now in particular, during all this time? Why is it taken until right now to get to a point where you decided, hey, we're going to strike?
Well, our members really wanted to have a collective agreement faster than the last time around. And this time we're really serious about it. It's really not just about few sticking points. As I mentioned, it is the return to pay parity, which was achieved in 2015. It is a reduced teaching load. And it is also about collegiality, which doesn't cost any money. So we are setting that deadline because we want to get back to school. And I'm actually prepping my classes and organizing a lot of activities and inviting guests, etc. But yet, if I have to go on strike, we will have to, and this will happen just 2 days before the withdrawal date.
So this is that timing on purpose? Does this give you more leverage in terms of back to school? Like, is that why you're striking now?
Well, indeed, I think very few faculty unions will go on strike over the summer. We want to have some leverage, and I think that our demands, better learning conditions, excellence in teaching, and collegiality, this is also points that students should be involved in, actually.
So I imagine there's maybe some students listening now who are probably pretty concerned about what this could mean for the start of the school year for them. What is your message to students as, you do head towards a potential strike?
Absolutely. Well, I'm telling them I am prepping my classes really hard, and I'm prepping perhaps the best lineup of activities I've ever prepped because I want them to have the very best experience possible. And yet, despite that, and I really hope that students and their families will understand that, perhaps I will have to go on strike, not because I want to, but because I have to. So right now, and especially because we've reached a deadlock, we are calling on the support of the entire community. People can go on our website, appusb.ca, go on the tab I Support You, AppUSB, and fill in a form. It's just going to take 2 minutes. And this is going to send a letter to USB's administration and urge the administration to find an agreement as soon as possible.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
That's Phi Van Wen. She is the association's spokesperson for the University of St. Boniface Professors and Professionals Association. She teaches history at the university as well. And in a statement, University of St. Boniface said, quote, during 2 intensive days of conciliation on August 21st and 22nd, the USB negotiating committee met with the association and negotiating committee with the aim of reaching a reasonable agreement regarding the collective agreement. And despite sustained efforts and the support of the mediator, no agreement could be reached. The USB expressed its wishes to return to the negotiating table as soon as possible. A meeting date has not yet been confirmed. Well, now let's check in with Heather Wells, who has a look at news headlines.
Good morning. RCMP have released a YouTube video this morning of the mother of a homicide victim pleading for information on the 2nd anniversary of her son's death. Lyndon McIver was out with friends on the Lake Manitoba First Nation on August 26, 2023. That's when he vanished. His body was discovered in a wooded area 5 days later. The Prime Minister is once again voicing support for a new port in Churchill. Mark Carney is in Germany working on a critical minerals action plan, but getting Canada's resources overseas isn't easy. Carney says he will have more to say about ports in the next 2 weeks. You can hear more on this story coming up on World Report and more Manitoba news coming your way at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. Also here in studio is Sierra Sanders with a look at the commute. Hello.
Good morning. Got a call from Tim just a couple minutes ago. Northbound Osborne, just past Morley, there was a car in the curb lane that was causing a couple of backups just because of the flow of morning traffic. So if that is on your commute there, northbound Osborne, just past Morley, there is a car in the curb lane. So you want to make sure you're keeping left to pass there. Tim mentioned that it was causing quite a little bit of confusion and backups there. So northbound Osborne, just past Morley, car parked in the curb lane. Make sure you keep left to pass there.
And no one called from Brereton Lake about backups.
So I guess Brereton is in the clear out there.
I guess everyone sleeps in out there too, probably.
I mean, I sleep in when I'm out at the lake.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can give us a call, 204-788-3093, if you do see anything going on out there, anywhere in the province. Still to come, stay tuned here at Information Radio. Getting kids to sleep can be the toughest part of any parent's day, especially during summer. And now to get kids back on a school sleep schedule, some parents are using a supplement called melatonin. But is it healthy? We're going to talk with a pediatrician about that coming up after 8 o'clock. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcia Marcusa. Stay tuned. We'll be back after World Report.
Today on Q.
I'm Jill Deacon in for Tom Power. Canadian musician Icky is bringing Punjabi music to the world while shining a spotlight on Canada. He'll talk about his collaboration with One Republic and tell you why Canadians should be embracing Punjabi music.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Susan Bonner. Despite what many experts thought, the Canadian and the U.S. economies aren't doing bad in the wake of Donald Trump's tariffs, but concerns remain. How will these economies fare in the coming months and years? Coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A lucrative Canadian defense contract is getting a lot of attention today in Germany.
We're in the process of renewing our submarine fleet, one of our most important defense initiatives.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says there are now just 2 companies in the running to build Canada's new submarines. After he met with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz this morning, he announced one of those contenders is a German-Norwegian partnership. The CBC's Murray Brewster has more details.
As he delivered the hard sell pitch last spring for Canada to buy his submarines, Oliver Burkhard, the CEO of Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, kept repeating the same phrase.
I think we're offering a real partnership, Navy to Navy, industry to industry, government to government.
We will perhaps soon get a better sense of whether that approach is music to the ears of Prime Minister Mark Carney and key members of his cabinet. It has been announced that Canada has narrowed the list of contenders to build the Navy's new submarines to 2 bidders, TKMS and South Korea's Hanwha Ocean. The Prime Minister met with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and is slated to participate in a business roundtable with the goal of diversifying Canada's trade and coming up with a critical minerals partnership. However, as with many elements of his European trip this week, defense and security issues are near the top of Carney's agenda. Federal officials speaking on background said the debate within government now is whether to go the route of requesting proposals or straight into contract negotiations with the preferred bidder. In the high-stakes multi-billion-dollar gambit to replace Canada's aging and largely inoperable Victoria-class submarines, the German-designed, Norwegian-partnered Type 212CD is perhaps the most well-known and heavily marketed of the contenders. Cabinet is not expected to decide until next year at the earliest which way to proceed. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Berlin.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is going back to Washington, D.C. LeBlanc is expected to sit down with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Late last week, Ottawa announced it will lift some retaliatory tariffs. LeBlanc has said the goal of his conversation with Lutnick is to negotiate a bilateral agreement. He says he hopes that will soften the impact of separate tariffs imposed on steel, aluminum, copper, lumber, and autos. U.S. President Donald Trump wants to remove one of the governors of the Federal Reserve. Trump posted a letter on social media saying he plans to fire Lisa Cook from the central bank's board of governors. He says he believes that she made false statements on mortgage agreements. Cook is denying the allegations and says she will not resign. The CBC's Lisa Shing joins me now from Washington. And Lisa, what more can you tell us?
Marcia, this all has to do with Trump demanding the Federal Reserve lower interest rates, and for months blaming its chair, Jerome Powell, for taking too long to do that and threatening to fire him and to fire Lisa Cook herself, who's the first Black woman to serve on the Fed's board. Now, this is the latest escalation in that conflict. Trump posted a letter addressed to Cook on social media late Monday, alleging she may have falsified records to get favorable terms on a mortgage, saying it's deceitful and potentially criminal. This is something that Trump and his allies have been alleging for weeks. In that letter, he wrote he's immediately firing her. So this is Trump in Washington last week.
I'll fire her if she doesn't resign. Yeah, what she did was bad. So I'll fire her if she doesn't resign.
So technically, the central bank's founding statute allows him to fire governors for cause, typically for misconduct or wrongdoing. So Cook and her lawyer are fighting the dismissal, saying Trump has no grounds to do this. She hasn't been charged with anything or convicted.
What if Cook is fired?
So the central bank is responsible for monitoring inflation, watching the labor market, and it's designed to be independent from political influence. So if Cook goes, the Fed could actually have a majority of Trump-appointed members, meaning we could see decisions swayed by what the president wants, and economists have warned that's risky. All of this is unprecedented. It could potentially shape up to be a long legal battle, and investors seem concerned based on overnight drops in stock futures.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Lisa Shing in Washington. Families and supporters of hostages being held by Hamas are demanding Israel's government make a deal now. They're demonstrating across Israel today in what's being called a day of struggle. They want the war in Gaza to end and the remaining hostages released. Our senior international correspondent, Margaret Evans, has more from Jerusalem.
Demonstrators pounding drums and holding pictures of the hostages aloft blocked roads and highways in and out of Israeli cities, disrupting the morning commute. Dalia Kuzner's brother-in-law, Itan, is one of 20 hostages still thought to be alive.
We're trying to make the Prime Minister sign this deal, even though we don't think it's the best hostage deal because it's only a partial one.
Hamas accepted a deal put forward by mediators last week, based on a temporary ceasefire and an initial release of half the hostages. Despite having previously agreed to staged releases, Benjamin Netanyahu now insists all hostages be released at once. Israeli journalist Anshel Pfeffer says his refusal comes even though most Israelis favor such a deal.
He is looking to the people who can keep him in power, and those are not the people on the street. Those are those far-right parties in his coalition who make no secret of the fact that they want to hold on to Gaza in perpetuity.
International pressure is building on Netanyahu after the UN's hunger watchdog confirmed famine in Gaza City last week, saying 500,000 Palestinians are facing starvation and death, and predicting those numbers are likely to grow. There has also been widespread outrage over the deaths of 5 more Palestinian journalists in an Israeli strike on a hospital in Gaza yesterday. Netanyahu called it a tragic mishap. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
A new federal program meant to help low-income Canadians with disabilities is off to a rocky start. Payments for the Canada Disability Benefit started going out in July. But in the second month, a technical glitch kept many people from getting their money on time. As Ben Andrews tells us, a lot of people were counting on those payments.
Welcome. You've reached the Canada Disability Benefit Call Centre.
An automated message greets callers.
A limited number of client payments remain outstanding.
Many wondering what happened to an August payment that hasn't showed up in their account. John Reddens is one of them. He's eligible for money from the Canada Disability Benefit. The program pays up to $200 per month.
Being on a disability, it does help. Every dollar helps. Any small amount is crucial to someone surviving.
The House of Commons passed the benefit in 2023. Money started going out this July, but already Reddens says his August payment was delayed. He had earmarked the money to cover an expense and faced service charges after it fell through. His experience isn't unique.
They were counting on this money. They had plans for this money, and then for this money not to show up into their account is a huge disappointment.
Rabia Khaydar is with advocacy group Disability Without Poverty. She says many people were affected by a technical glitch and need reassurances after the breach in trust.
So people with disabilities are in deep, deep, deep poverty. And this $200 is inching closer to that poverty line.
Employment and Social Development Canada confirmed some payments remain outstanding. It says the delay was due to an isolated systems issue, but most payments went through. The department says efforts are underway to issue the remaining money in the next few days. Ben Andrews, CBC News, Ottawa.
Andy Kim is among the new class being inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. The Rock Me Gently and Sugar Sugar singer will be honored during one of two events taking place in the fall. Other inductees include Montreal-born Gino Vanelli. He penned and performed the 1987 hit Wild Horses, best known for her hit Calling All Angels. Toronto's Jane Siberry is also joining the class. So is the rock trio Triumph. The first induction event takes place in Toronto, October 17. The second happens on November 17 in Montreal.
Oh, my darling, oh, my baby, you got the moves that drive me crazy. And on your face, I see a trace of love.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
I need you, honey. I love you so. You were made for me by the stars above.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. It is Tuesday, August 26th, and coming up this half hour on the show, getting kids to sleep can be the toughest part of any parent's day, especially during summer. Now, to get kids back on a school sleep schedule, some parents are using a supplement called melatonin. But is it healthy? We're going to talk with a local pediatrician about that. Also, we're going to hear about a camping trip organized for new Canadians. Stay tuned. That's coming up this half hour on Information Radio. (8:11) right now. Let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. RCMP have released a YouTube video this morning of the mother of a homicide victim pleading for information on the second anniversary of her son's death. Lyndon McIver was out with friends on Lake Manitoba First Nation August 26, 2023. That is when he vanished. 5 days later, his body was discovered in a wooded area. Voting is underway in the Spruce Woods by-election. People in that Western Manitoba municipality are electing a new MLA. Polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Let's check in now with Abby Adeyemi, who's keeping an eye on the weather.
Yes, Corey, I had to pull the blind. It's already so sunny outside, and I can see the reflection really coming into the studio. The southern part of the province enjoying this warm, sunny start as we get going this Tuesday morning. The clouds will increase sometime this afternoon. Looking at conditions in the northern part of the province, we're seeing sunshine too. However, there's a chance of showers and thunderstorms later in the day. For Winnipeg right now, we're reading 14 degrees at the airport and 9 degrees at the Forks with mainly sunny conditions. As we start this day, sunny clouds will build in the afternoon. Temperatures will climb to a high of 28 degrees. We will see light winds coming from we're going to see light winds later in the day, and there's a chance of showers late in the evening also. So look out for that, about 40% chance of showers. Then tomorrow we're going to see some clear conditions. In other parts of the southern regions, we're seeing temperatures around 12 and 16 degrees. Also a mix of sun and clouds later in the day for most of the regions. While up north, we're seeing temperatures around 10 to 16 degrees. Sunny conditions in some parts, and then showers will be expected in the Churchill and Thompson area. But to wrap things up, I'll just tell you the South is really enjoying this mild and sunny start to Tuesday. Temperatures will be warming up to around 20 to 30 degrees in most of the regions, while we're seeing cool and showers in the forecast for the north. Winnipeg right now, temperatures hovering between 9 and 14 degrees.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That is Abby Adeyemi, who is also our studio technician. Also, good morning to you, Sierra Sanders, who is our studio director. She is also keeping an eye on the very quiet commute overall.
Yes, it has been quite easygoing for the most part today. Did get a call from Tim, though, earlier, just before we went into World Report. Northbound Osborne, just past Morley Avenue, there was a car in the curb lane that was causing some confusion and backups for folks heading on northbound Osborne there during our morning rush hour. So I haven't heard any updates about the situation, but if you are on northbound Osborne, just past Morley Avenue, keep an eye out and be aware about that parked car in the curb lane, and keep left to pass there if you're thinking ahead, if you are a overthinker, a thinker, a header, if that's not really a word, like myself, where I need to know minutes before I need to make a left turn or a right turn. I need to know. And a funny note, we were talking and kind of joking about the traffic out in Brereton Lake in the Whiteshell, and I got a call from Jeff, and he told me a little story. So if Jeff, you're listening, I hope I'm getting all of these points correct. He mentioned that his father-in-law pretty much lives out at Brereton, and he has a 2-seater float plane. And when it's nice, because you can't really fly in adverse weather, because unfortunately that his little 2-seater float plane is not necessarily made for the adverse weather. He goes out for a morning flight, and he sends a traffic and weather report to his family. So obviously the weather is always nice when he's up in the float plane, because he can really only fly when it's nice outside. And he says they're always the same. The weather's nice, and the traffic report slow.
Okay.
The only traffic out there are the deer.
Yes. Okay.
That's the only traffic.
That's amazing. Well, we should make sure, if he is up in the air right now, we should get him to call our commuter line.
We need to talk to Bart, and I know his name is Bart because they have started his own Instagram account called Bart Over Brereton.
Oh, really?
And I took a quick look. There are many flight videos of Bart flying over Brereton.
Well, Bart, if you're listening from your float plane, we'd love a live traffic update.
Love to hear what's going on up there.
Yeah.
So Jeff mentioned there's no update so far today, but hopefully things are looking good out there. And Bart Over Brereton on Instagram, if you want to go check out some of his videos of him flying over the lovely Whiteshell.
Amazing.
Thank you to Jeff for that. That's really fun. If you have any traffic tips, though, I'd love to hear about it. We have a couple more minutes here in the show. 204-788-3093. That's fun.
Well, next on the show, perhaps these are the 2 most terrifying sentences a parent can hear their kids say. I'm not tired. I don't want to sleep. Well, and now that summer is coming to a close, they may be hearing that more often from kids as they try to get them back on a consistent, earlier sleep schedule for school, which can be very, very challenging. And to help, some parents are actually turning to a popular sleep supplement called melatonin. A U.S. study from 2023 found nearly 1 in 5 U.S. children under the age of 14 are being given melatonin to help with sleep. We don't have data for here in Canada, but Dr. Marnie Hanna is a pediatrician, and she has seen an uptick in folks who are asking about melatonin. But is it healthy? I spoke to Dr. Marnie Hanna, who is the past president of the Manitoba Pediatric Society, earlier today.
Good morning.
So let's just start. Just tell us a little bit about what melatonin is and what it does.
Melatonin is a hormone produced by the pineal gland in our brain, and it is something that our body naturally releases, usually in response to low light conditions when it's time to go to sleep.
And so then when this, there's a supplement form of this, so how safe is it to use for kids?
Well, compared to some of the other options to help with sleeping, it is generally considered to be more safe because you're mimicking something that your body naturally already makes. But the problem is that it's a natural health product, so it's not as closely regulated as prescription medications would be. So the dose that it says on the bottle may not be exactly what you're getting.
Okay. So this is an over-the-counter bottle you can buy. What are the potential side effects? Let's say if the dose is larger than you'd expect for a child.
Then potentially it could cause more sleepiness that would last longer, or it could potentially make them more irritable. Rarely I've had some patients tell me that they get nightmares, but honestly, it is still relatively safe, even if the dose is a little bit high.
So, in what instances would you prescribe, or I guess, recommend melatonin for a child?
The most common situation where we use it is with children with neurodevelopmental disorders like autism or ADHD. Uh, but it is also safe to use on a very short-term, temporary basis to try to shift sleep, like, for example, with jet lag or maybe even with trying to get kids onto a better sleep-wake cycle for going back to school.
So, I guess the danger is if you depend on it in every night kind of thing. What's the potential issues if it just becomes a nightly thing?
Uh, well, it can become less effective if it's given very regularly. So we really try to mostly encourage parents to use behavioral approaches and good sleep hygiene, as opposed to depending on medication to help with going to sleep every night.
Has seen an uptick at all in parents asking you about using melatonin to help their kids sleep, like even if they don't necessarily have, say, a medical condition?
Yes, we have, and it's hard to say exactly why, although I strongly suspect that it has something to do with screen time. And a lot of children are spending like a lot of time on screens, especially close to bedtime. And the blue light from those screens inhibits your brain's natural release of melatonin. And it's too interesting. Like they want to stay on the screens really late, and that isn't necessarily healthy for them. It also gets in the way of exercise and outdoor light exposure during the day, which we know is really important for helping kids to sleep.
Is there also like a unique Manitoba issue here with just like the sun setting so darn late, especially during the summer? I know as soon as the time change happened in spring, I know trying to get my kid down was a whole thing. Have you noticed like during the summers, more parents are coming to you hoping for melatonin just because it's harder to get that natural melatonin release when the sun stays up till 9 or even 10 sometimes.
Yes, you're right. Our Manitoba situation could likely be a factor as well.
So, what do you recommend to help kids, get sleep? Like you mentioned, less screen time. What are some more kind of, I guess, natural ways of getting kids down without, help from melatonin?
Yes, so it's really helpful if they have a pattern or like a regular time that they're getting up in the morning and going to sleep in the evening. And that shouldn't deviate by very much. Even on the weekends, your body thrives on having a set sleep schedule. Also, the exercise that I mentioned, going outside and playing, having light exposure during the day, and having a definite routine before going to sleep that includes relaxing things like maybe reading or having a bath or doing something that helps them to settle down to go to sleep. So it's very important to have consistency, and then having a uh, environment in their room that is conducive to sleeping. So it should be dark, and maybe they could have something that produces some white noise that helps to soothe them. Some kids like to have a transitional object like a stuffy, but it really helps if there's consistency.
And finally, here, if a parent does turn to melatonin to help their kid sleep, is there a recommended dose for a child that you would say at all?
We always recommend to start low, so starting around sort of 1 to 3 milligrams and not exceeding 10 milligrams. Not so much because a higher dose is dangerous, but because you only have so many melatonin receptors in your brain, and at some point they get saturated and higher doses don't help.
Well, Dr. Hannah, thanks so much for joining this morning and offering some clarity on this.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Marnie Hanna is a pediatrician and past president of the Manitoba Pediatric Society. 8:23 right now here on Information Radio. And next up on the show, some new Canadians in Red Deer are trying camping for the first time this summer. The trip to the Rocky Mountains was planned by local volunteers, and they want newcomers to be able to see a slice of Canada they might not otherwise experience. The CBC's Alison Dempster has that story.
At the Cavalcade Campground, one site in particular is bustling. Dozens of tents are pitched under the pines on the Kootenay Plains, about 3 hours northwest of Calgary. And there's one big fire pit.
So Noor's from Afghanistan, and they've been in Canada, 2 months? 3 months now.
For the past 8 years, Richard Roth and other volunteers from Red Deer have organized the camp out for newcomers to their city.
Canada's a place where people have come from everywhere to live and make it their home. And this is, I suppose, an effort to try and bring those people together so that we're not living in silos, but we're living together as Canadians. I suppose that's the main motivator. And we can show them just, what it's like, how rugged those mountains are, and just the beauty of it all.
More than 60 people have come on the trip.
My name is Eme Yongira. I came from Uganda. That's my first time to go for camping. Camping is so interesting. People get together, share, it creates togetherness and love for nature.
Some campers like Eme are refugees. Others have recently gotten their citizenship. They come from all over the world: Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan.
People from Myanmar, the Rohingya people. We've got some Sudanese, and we've got some Congolese, and probably some others that I don't remember right now.
So you must be hearing all different kinds of languages at this campsite.
Oh yeah, translating things like keep your food out of your tent and in the cookhouse because of bears. I really hope they got that message, and they seem to have, because it's a pretty clean campsite.
No small feat, considering the amount of food being churned out of the cookhouse.
It's called our fridge. Here we've got a whole bunch of hot dogs.
Joyce Rust and other volunteers have masterminded the menu and storage, including one special bin devoted only to s'more supplies.
Oh, yeah, that's tonight. We're going to feast.
It's s'mores night.
Much of the camping gear comes on loan from the travel agency Richard owns. They've also found extra equipment at garage sales over the years. The campers contribute $60 each to help cover the cost of the 3-day trip. There's hiking, sightseeing, swimming, and fiercely competitive card games.
No, where is the blue chair? So there's no Wi-Fi out here, and there is no phone reception out here. And I think that makes a big difference too. It gives, especially the younger guys and girls, it gives them an opportunity to focus on something totally different because they have to. And then they realize that there's people outside of my phone. And they start talking to them, and that's when we see friendships develop. And you can just see they're having a great time playing soccer.
Gaith Badawi is 17. He's originally from Syria and has been in Canada for 10 years.
So, I was raised here in Canada, and then, so Canada is, now my country, and then, I'm proud of that.
This is Gaith's first time camping.
It's cool. It's, ridiculous. I like it. All people around me, yeah, we're doing some fun activities. Yeah, we're seeing the mountains, we're going to the falls. That's perfect. For me, I wish to see a bear. Yeah, but I don't want to be close to it. Maybe a rat, while we're in a car.
Yeah, that's a good way to see a bear.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's why.
For some, there are parts of camping that take some getting used to.
Well, I realized there is not any shower, and the dirty toilet. Yeah.
Ellie Ziai is originally from Iran. She works in Red Deer as a hairstylist. Smelly outhouses aside, she says she loves the camping experience.
What is it that you love about being out here?
Just the people, hang out with the people for me. Talking with them and listen to the story of their life and just laughing, talking, play the game, explore the nature. I love that. Without judging, without anything. like where you are born, where you are come from. Just enjoy being together. Yeah, I love that.
For Richard, hosting the annual campout isn't just about being a welcoming neighbor. He sees it as an investment in his community.
I don't think it takes a lot of effort. If it's something that's in your heart to do, it's easy. That's what I think.
For CBC Radio, I'm Alison Dempster on the Kootenay Plains in Alberta.
Thank you very much for that, Allison. Well, 8:28 right now here in much less mountainous Manitoba. And with me here in studio is Marjorie Dowhouse, who is hosting Radio Noon today. And what's your call-in?
Well, today we are talking about arts and culture here in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, in Canada. We're talking to two law students who work with clients in the art industry. They're supporting the Canadian Arts Coalition's call for the federal government to allocate 1% of the budget permanently to the funding of arts and culture and heritage in our country. The Department of Heritage has announced that they are going to claw back some of the money that they give towards grants and contributions, and that affects a lot of arts councils here in the country. And a lot of people saying that arts and culture, especially in this day and age, is so important to our country. So we want to hear from you. Are you someone who supports the arts? Why do you think we should invest and support the arts here in Winnipeg and in Manitoba? We want to hear from you. Give us a call this afternoon on Radio Noon.
Thank you very much, Marjorie.
Thanks, Corey.
That is Marjorie Dowhouse. You can turn into Radio Noon today for the call-in portion at 12:30. Time now for your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. At 8:30 in Winnipeg, it is 14 degrees. We're warming up a little bit, headed to a high today of 28. Mix of sun and clouds. There is increasing clouds, though, later in the day, bringing with them again a chance of late-day showers. The mother of a homicide victim is making an emotional plea today, the second anniversary of her son's death. 2 years ago today, 25-year-old Lyndon McIver went out with friends on Lake Manitoba First Nation. That's when he vanished. McIver's body was found 5 days later in a wooded area. RCMP say it was homicide. They are looking for information from the public. His mother, Cheryl Maytwayashing, has recorded a YouTube video issued today by police.
But hopefully somebody has a heart to tell what really happened that night. Because people do know.
Maytwayashing says she can't bury her son's ashes until she knows what happened to him. Work is underway to rebuild homes in a Manitoba subdivision destroyed by wildfire. 2 people were killed and 28 homes destroyed this past May in the RM of Lac de Bonnie. Some property owners have started putting down new foundations. Erin Banville and her husband lost their permanent home. They're not sure, though, if they'll rebuild, but Banville is happy to see neighbors coming back.
It's actually great to see that, and that's the life of it becoming what it once was, or something even better. It is good. I wish we were there.
Many people in the area have spent the past 3 months cleaning up the charred debris, and volunteers from an Ontario-based group called Christian Aid Ministries have also pitched in to help. The Prime Minister is in Germany today talking about getting Canada's resources to Europe. Mark Carney says redeveloping the Port of Churchill is key to a deal with that European country. And he's working on critical minerals action plan and a deal to send liquefied national gas to Germany. The country wants to move away from Russian energy, but the challenge is getting Canadian LNG there. Federal Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Tim Hodgson, says everyone seems to be on board to make something happen at the Port of Churchill.
There seems to be a desire on the part of Germany to buy our natural gas, and we have a desire from proponents, province, and First Nations to develop that for German customers.
And LNG is liquefied natural gas. Carney says he will have more to say about all of this in the next 2 weeks. People in Spruce Woods vote for a new MLA in a by-election today. Polls opened half an hour ago. The Western Manitoba municipality has been without a provincial representative since the former MLA switched to federal politics earlier this year. Now, that area has long voted in progressive Conservatives, but other parties are putting up a fight. Party official Colleen Robbins is running for the PCs. The NDP has former real estate agent Ray Berthollet, and teacher Stephen Reed is on the ballot for the Liberals. Polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. Steinbach City Council has rejected a request for a plebiscite on allowing cannabis stores. Council turned down the request last week from Jesse Lavoie of Toba Grown, a Winnipeg-based cannabis supplier. Deputy Mayor Michael Zwagstra says this matter was already decided in a plebiscite in 2018 when a majority of eligible residents voted against it.
The issue has already been settled. We have a lot of other things that we're doing in Steinbach, a lot of growth that is happening, and a lot of other more important issues. And we don't just simply rush to have a plebiscite just because someone who lives in Winnipeg asks us to hold one.
Lavoie says he is now organizing a petition to force a Steinbach-wide vote. That petition would need to be signed by 20% of registered Steinbach voters in order to force that vote. Steinbach is the largest community in Manitoba banning retail cannabis stores. You can find more news as it's updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks for the morning, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Also with us now is Sierra Sanders with a final look at the commute. Hello.
Good morning. Still not hearing, I haven't heard about too much going on out there, but wanted to make sure I let folks know about some construction. All eastbound lanes on Redwood Avenue between Salter Street and Charles Street are closed. And this is expected to last until September 10th. And during that time, between now and September 10th, it will switch to all westbound lanes. We don't know that exact date yet. That is to be announced, to be determined. And when we have that information, we will make sure we let you folks out there know. So again, that's all eastbound lanes on Redwood Avenue between Salter Street and Charles Street are closed due to construction and eventually moving to all westbound lanes. And when we know, you will know.
Thank you very much, Sierra.
Thank you.
Abby, what's going on with weather?
Yeah, the south is going to be enjoying warm and sunny day to start. Then we'll see some clouds build later. While up north, we're going to see cool temperatures with shower possible and some thunderstorms to come with that. We're going to see temperatures warm to 28 down south, and up north, we're going to see temperatures stay between 10 and 16 degrees. Right now in Winnipeg, we are around 14 degrees. We get to 28 today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Sierra. Thank you, Brad Lillies on our YouTube page. As well, AP's Chidi Akuma, Sid Sundance Horshig, Jenna Badasso, and on our news team, Heather Wells, Jolene Nicolo, Megan Ketchison, and Bryce Hoy. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa. Marcy will be back in the seat tomorrow. And reminder, in a couple weeks, once school is back up and running, we're going to have the education minister on the show. And if you have questions for her, you can call us 204-788-3205, or you can email us radio893@cbc.ca. That's radio893@cbc.ca with a question. We might pose it to the minister. Stay tuned. The Current is next.